Once again, welcome on in to the Central Committee stream. We are live once again. It is Friday, January 2nd. How is everybody doing today? I'm doing great. We have another socialist mayor being sworn in today in Seattle, Katie Wilson, to be sworn in at 10 a.m. this morning. So that's coast to coast socialism. From the ocean, from the sea to the ocean. Doesn't sound like a bear to me. Oh, I don't know. Aluminum is doing great now. Wait, aluminum? Huh? The dollar is just being devalued. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. As chip stocks attempt to lift the whole market. Guys, can we stop with the 2026 glasses? Can we stop? Like, can we just stop? Can we just stop? And this Peter Tuchman guy, can you stop? Can you stop posting, man? Like, you're not cool. Just be quiet. Tesla reports they're down 16% from making cars. Tesla may be the most unsuccessful company, and yet the stock price is high. It's actually baffling. It's one thing to be like, oh yeah, Tesla is going to grow one day when it's here and have all this like kind of sociopathic optimism, but now it's just nonsense. Like, it's like, what's going on here? Like, this looks like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's just, it's a company that is valued like it's 100 times bigger than it is. It's just, it's batshit crazy. PE of 310. That means, I mean, like, what are we doing here? 310. That's just batshit crazy. I mean, basically, Tesla stock is treated the same thing as Bitcoin. It's not really reflective of any kind of value, but it's just this like totem. The Bitcoin is resting hard on 90,000, huh? Just below 90,000. Meanwhile, BYD couldn't care less about their stock prices. They just want to make cars. I mean, this is the difference between China and the US is like stock price is not associated with the reality that we live in. Not even a little bit. I sold some weeks ago my Tesla stocks at 11x profit. That's amazing. Chinese chipmaker Zohran confirms next-gen KX8000 CPUs with 4 GHz speeds, DDR5, and PCIe 5.0 support, competing against AMD Zen 4. If China could get some fucking computer chips and GPUs that can compete against AMD and Intel and NVIDIA, and it's like cheap, but it has the same performance, those companies will go to zero from on their consumer side. Honestly, if I were Xi Jinping, I'd be like, how do we make this a new thing? Nick Shirley's family, is that the guy who's doing the racist shit against Somalis and trying to like go, look at me, I'm investigating the crimes? Here's kind of my feeling about Nick Shirley. If you see Nick Shirley, you should give him a hearty hello. This is anyway, you know, sometimes white supremacist groups come to Pennsylvania and this is what happens.
It is now 9:02 and new this morning. Only Action News was there as protesters associated with the white supremacist group Patriot Front marched through the heart of Philadelphia. Counter-protesters confronted that particular group. Police did respond to the scene that you see right here. That march coming ahead of today's visit by First Lady Jill Biden, and her security is heightened for the 4th of July. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson is live on Independence Mall with an update on the commotion in the city of Philadelphia. Becca, what are you learning about this?
Greg, first of all, the First Lady is due to be here on Independence Mall within the next few hours for a celebration of freedom ceremony. As you said, with her presence comes heightened security. Homeland Security had issued a warning this week about the threat of violent extremists exploiting the return of large gatherings. Now, while they remained nonviolent last night, a group of white supremacists were here in Philadelphia. They marched through the city on the eve of the First Lady's visit. Police say none of the protesters were from Philadelphia. Patriot Front is based in Texas, and they traveled into the city. Action News was the only crew on scene as the group traveled down the Ben Franklin Parkway, across Market, Chestnut, and Walnut Streets before marching to Penn's Landing. Hundreds of mass protesters from Patriot Front chanted while carrying American flags and shields. At Penn's Landing, several onlookers began yelling at the protesters and banging on trucks as the group loaded into the vehicles and drove off. Police say some of those angry onlookers actually scared off the white supremacists.
They started engaging with citizens of Philadelphia who were none too happy about some of the things they were saying. apparently these males felt threatened, and at one point somebody in their crowd threw a type of what we believe is a smoke bomb to cover their retreat, and they literally ran away from the people of Philadelphia.
Police later questioned the entire group of protesters after pulling their trucks over for safety reasons along Delaware Avenue. Now, police say no property was destroyed during this commotion last night. We are hoping—
Minnesota, what are you guys doing? Step up your game. Step up your game. Step up your game. We made a whole group run away. You have just
to learn more about why these white supremacists were in Philadelphia. But again, this was—
some Texans tried to come up to Philadelphia and do racist shit, and they had to run away. Just saying. Hassan slandered your Chinese credentials yesterday. Chat, I'm being slandered from all sides by people who are jealous of my— they're jealous of my fucking prescience and my correctness. And so they're trying to slander me with lies. I am the most Chinese streamer. That's number one. Okay. Number two, if you're from Argentina, but you're originally from Australia, why are you there? Why did you move to Argentina? Tell us. Georgie, why did you move? Come on. Why did you move from Australia? We need to know. All right. What else am I being slandered on?
I don't even know who Michael from Beijing is. Do you mean Michael from Pennsylvania, which is not in Beijing? Are you guys talking about Michael from Pennsylvania? Because yeah, I question his loyalty to the wonderful nation of China, the People's Republic of China. I questioned it last night, as a matter of fact. I did.
So we were Hassan and I were at this New Year's Eve party, and so I sauntered over to Hassan, and we had a long discussion about China. That's what we were talking about, and the ball was about to drop. The ball was about to drop, and here Hassan and I are talking about China. We were talking about Taiwan and how it's an alienable part of China. And that's that. Did I kiss him? No, I already had a New Year's Eve kiss locked in. Sorry, chat. So that's how it went. Hassan can't even explain the separatist bombings with confidence. You're 100% more Chinese than him. I mean, the separatists are— listen, I'm more anti-Taiwan than pretty much anyone. Like, I kind of, you know, the KMT and what happened to the Taiwanese people is so fucking disgusting. And it's so evil how liberals just pretend it didn't happen because the fascists there were allied with the US. And like, it is so fucking disgusting that people ignore history to do propaganda for a fascist government. It is absolutely insane. And it actually tilts me a lot. Like, I try not to get into this argument because the Taiwanese position is completely meritless and makes no sense and is very evil. And so, like, I'm sorry, but bro, like, America interfering there is batshit crazy. And the idea that we would ever fight a war for that is madness. He said you went to a Shenyun concert. Will you address this? I may actually sue Hassan for this. I'm kidding.
He has yet to go to China, so I don't even know if he's a real one.
Why does this imperial Japan-loving weeb keep on slandering you? Because, like most Americans, Hassan was a Japan worshiper and an anime enjoyer. Me, as a true China simp, I never enjoyed anime except for when it was drawn in China. Many animes are actually drawn in China, and those are the only good ones. No, there are some good Japanese animes, mostly the ones that reckon with their imperial past and the shamefulness of militarism. You do have to concede Hassan is part Chinese due to being Turk. True. I think he does have some relatives from Xinjiang, so that does make him more Chinese. That does make him indelibly Chinese. That is true. Did you ever see Mr. Robot? I have not seen Mr. Robot. It's on my list of things to watch. Everything Japanese is actually Chinese is correct. That is actually correct. That is actually correct. If China invades Taiwan, I don't think it will. America won't defend Taiwan. No, okay. I'll be perfectly honest with you, chat. China could invade Taiwan. I don't want China to invade Taiwan because I think that would be a optics L. And I think if you look at what happened with Ukraine, that was not good for Russia. It was not good for Russia. I think Xi looks at the situation in Ukraine and he realizes, like, let's not try to do a military intervention unless it's like completely necessary for national security, and not just because it's an aspirational thing. That being said, I could imagine an invasion of Taiwan. Like, I think it's actually much more probable than the invasion of Russia was. The invasion by Russia of Ukraine. So that's why I'm nervous. I'm nervous because the United States of America going into a war with China could end the world. Like, it is the most likely scenario where the world or the human race goes extinct is America fighting a war with China. And the thing is, because China's non-white, Americans are so dumb and racist that they think they might win. And then when we won't win, they'll use nukes because, they can't handle defeat. Do you think Donald Trump wouldn't push the button if he was losing? Tanks were rolling through DC and going towards his bunker. You think Trump wouldn't press the nuke button? I fear Japan will get a nuke this year. Yeah, I don't think Japan's going to get a nuke. You know what? You're right. They might. They do have a fascist in power. And the Japanese love fascism. So I kind of think of Japan as kind of like the most racist country in the world, to be honest with you. No, that's Israel. Oh, true. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Israel is the most racist country. You're right. You're right. No, you're right. It is. It's like Israel, Japan. I don't want China to invade Taiwan because the U.S.'s default position would be to get involved. I don't think that's true. I don't want China to invade Taiwan because wars are really bad. And I don't say that. I say that from a principled position of, if you are doing a war, it spins in ways you never predict. And once you're in it, you can't easily extract yourself out of it. It's usually bad to go on the offense, like to start a war. It's usually bad to start a war. The consequences are usually terrible for you. It's rare where, at least in the modern world, where starting a war is really beneficial in the long run. If China manages to disrupt the silicon industry by making a real competitor to TSMC, then Taiwan will be pressured economically and move into a more pro-China government, maybe. Actually, I think the best analysis of the Taiwan situation is that if China makes their own competitive semiconductor industry that could outcompete Taiwan, then the Taiwan reunification will happen because there's no reason for Taiwan to remain independent at that point. And the U.S. will abandon Taiwan. Like, the reason why the U.S. has to keep control of Taiwan is because they're worried about the semiconductor supply and chip supply. That's why, building chip manufacturing back in the U.S. is ironically Taiwan signing its own death warrant. See, the thing is, like, the Standing Committee and the Central Committee of China are a lot more intelligent than our government. Like, Donald Trump is legitimately a dumb fuck. Like, can you imagine comparing the intellect of Donald Trump and Xi Jinping? Just for a second. Compare the work ethic of Xi Jinping and Donald Trump. Just for a second. Think about the number of books that Xi Jinping has wrote versus the number of books that Donald Trump has read. I wouldn't underestimate the Pentagon and three-letter agencies, though, Trump or not. The problem is, like, first of all, I don't. However, what you guys need to understand is that people like Donald Trump are eliminating the smart people out of the Pentagon, because the smart people in the Pentagon are saying, we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do, we should follow international law. We should do this. The smart ones are saying that. They're getting fired. It's the dumb assholes who beat their chest for Fox News clout that are being promoted and boosted. It's all the belligerent dipshits. Isn't the current KMT more pro-unification? Yes. The current KMT is like, how do I put this? All right. There is China, the current state, and then there is being Chinese as like a nationality, right? And there is a conservative Chinese irredentist streak that wants to unify Chinese people into one state, right? And there are territories that are not currently within the Chinese state that have majority Chinese population, are not under the direct administration of the PRC. And so there is like this irredentist Chinese, like, oh, and as I said before, we call these guys regime guys that would be conservative, but they live under socialism. So they are like the most pro-regime. So they just like whatever the regime is doing. They don't even believe in ideology. They're actually like, they're more like their conservatism is, I want to support the state. Like, they stay around. If like America became communist, MAGA guys would be like running around with images of fucking Lenin or whatever, not of Marx. They'd be like, you have to listen to Marx. They become the most doctrinaire Marxists because that's what the state says, and they become very sclerotic, and they become conservative, but in this kind of twisted way. This is what happens. It's like, I think of conservatism and progressivism and these different forms of politics as manifestations of certain orientations toward the world. And so conservatism in America, is pro-capitalist and is liberal in a certain sense. Not really anymore. It's becoming more fascist, but you get my point. And that's because that's the status quo. That's who heads the hierarchy. So the conservatives are oriented toward maintaining that hierarchy. If some other hierarchy formed, they'd be worshiping that because they're weird. Their hierarchy, they're bootlickers. I'm talking about this only because I've tried to explain what the KMT is. You see it in Russia today with like weird Russian nationalist right-wingers flying like Soviet flags. They're not doing it because they believe in socialism. They're doing it because that's when Russia in their mind was strongest. So they're like nostalgic for Russia being strong, and Russia was stronger as the Soviet Union. So they're like worshiping the Soviet Union even though they're right-wing. Does that make sense? These are kind of like complicated political realities that only exist due to historical contingency. That's why I think the EUV machine objective for 2030 is actually EUV prototype working by 2027, full-blown streamlined wafer production by 2019. 2030 will be the reunification date because TSMC already crashed last year. The US is no longer interested in supporting Chinese Taipei independence. Unfortunately, Dave, that's too simplistic and you don't understand strategy. Unfortunately, you don't. The United States has a strong strategic reason for continuing to support Taiwan because it is a thorn in China's side. It creates significant strategic and tactical complexity for the Chinese national security because Taiwan exists. Think about World War II. I'll give you an analogy that makes sense. Think about World War II, right? In World War II, what did the United States do to fight Japan? They did an island hopping campaign, where they grabbed islands closer and closer to Japan so that they could have bomber bases and naval resupply bases in order to strike the mainland. Taiwan is that same function for the US in fighting China. By having Taiwan as a forward military strong point, they could put all of China under severe pressure and force China to spend a lot more money on military readiness, because when you have a base that close to the heartland, it's like a dagger pointed at the heart of China. So China has to sit there, bottled up and guarding in like, you know what I mean? It's like having a dagger right this far from your heart. You got to be like, you have your shields up. So that strategic pressure is so immense. That's why the United States supports Taiwan. So it's like, and that's expensive. It's expensive to maintain that protection. It's expensive to maintain that kind of readiness because when a base is that close, there is a severe threat. That's why Cuba was such a perceived threat during the missile crisis. Exactly. If the Soviet Union installs large military forces on Cuba, that is a dagger pointed at the heart of, or a dagger pointed at America's underbelly. And that's a severe vulnerability. That's why we were so aggressive at trying to prevent the installation of the intermediate missiles, because that would put a tremendous amount of pressure on U.S. armed forces. Don't we have subs capable of launching ICBMs? It's not ICBM. The answer is yes, we have subs, but subs do not represent a conventional military force projection. They're part of the nuclear triad. And maybe they could do some commerce raiding and things like that and help do blockading and things like that. But compared to a large fortified island 60 miles off the coast, it does not compare. It's the equivalent of China armed Cuba to the gills and then stationed the world's most powerful naval group in Honduras.
He's like Falun Gong style operatives, you know what I mean? He's like, oh, I'm Chinese, but then like I might have seen him outside of a Chinese embassy or two holding up one of those signs talking about like, they're doing organ harvesting in China, that type of thing. I'm just very suspicious about whether or not he's real. He might have even gone to like a Shen Yun show or something. I don't know. It's just strange that a lot of people believe that he is just because.
I wonder if Ethan Klein would fund my lawsuit for slander against Hassan. How dare he say I support these evil groups? How could you? I'm just kidding. The answer is, of course, Ethan Klein would. Have you watched Hugo's and Wow Mao's video on slurs? I haven't watched it yet. I didn't want to watch it raw on stream, but did Hassan watch it? He did? Was it good? Mamdani signs executive orders aimed at addressing housing in New York City. To protect tenants and create new task forces that aim to speed up housing construction. This is exactly what I would do. I have always been somebody who is ironically in favor of just building. That's why I like China so much. I like China so much because they have that same mentality of, these are engineering problems. Let's build a solution. A lot of problems are engineering problems, and people obfuscate that fact. A lot of the times, you know, flooding is because you have a poorly engineered floodplain, poorly engineered solutions to water management. You've allowed the free market to just build up in places that it shouldn't be. Did you see Zohran wiped out every single one of Adam's executive orders from the day he was indicted? What a king. The Office to Protect Tenants will protect tenants' rights and make sure city agencies act to protect renters facing unsafe or illegal conditions. What I would really like to see Zohran do is build up a co-op program that basically tenants can form and then buy buildings like that. Like if you have to help form tenant associations, and then tenants have the right of first refusal to buy buildings using government loans. Like, I want to see right of first refusal for tenants, and I want to see like co-op structures being formed. There's a video up, 2 minutes. Wow. Thanks, man. Thanks for saying there's a 2-minute video. Thanks, man.
Thank you for having us in your home.
Mayor Mamdani's first stop after inauguration was a rent-regulated apartment building.
And this?
Yes, it was like mold, and then the ceiling was like peeling off, and then they come and do something here, everything rusty.
Mamdani chose to hold the event here in Prospect Lefferts Garden to sign executive orders on housing. The two orders would create task forces, one to study affordable housing development on city-owned land, and one on permitting and bureaucratic hurdles that make construction costly and slow.
Amazing.
We will also stand up for tenants, build new housing, and get New Yorkers into housing faster.
The applause from residents who belong to a group representing tenants of landlord Joel Wiener, CEO of Pinnacle Group. Pinnacle Group put this building and dozens others into bankruptcy and up for auction. New York One reached out to Pinnacle for comment. The city is a Pinnacle creditor in the bankruptcy, so Mamdani tasked his nominee to be the city's top lawyer, Steve Banks, to come up with a way to help tenants in the bankruptcy proceedings.
The city's interests are also bound up with the tenants' interests.
Mamdani also picked tenant organizer Sia Weaver to lead the revived mayor's office to protect tenants.
And I want to thank all the members of the Union of Pinnacle Tenants who came out today.
It's rot, there's old plaster, and it just really looks bad.
Melissa Hill showed New York One around her $2,100 a month 2-bedroom apartment. And you've complained about this?
I have.
What was the response?
No response. They'll have someone come in and look at it, and that's it.
For whichever entity becomes the new owner, Hill says she expects better.
This is not my standard of living, right? And I think I pay a lot of money for rent.
Meanwhile, Mamdani also addressed an executive order that revokes all.
By the way, centrists will be like, only 2,100, as if like going in and replacing fucking drywall is $1 million or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that's really funny about this, is that people start to become disconnected from the reality of what things actually cost.
All orders that Mayor Eric Adams signed after September 26th, 2024. The date is purposeful. Adams was indicted on federal corruption charges that day. This was later dropped by the Trump justice.
They are ones that time and time again come up against the interests of working class people.
In revoking Mayor Eric Adams' executive orders, Mamdani was asked about one in particular, the one that created the mayor's office to combat anti-Semitism. That was a big issue during the campaign. Mamdani said that that is important to him and he would keep that office intact. In Brooklyn, Dan Rivoli, New York One.
Boots on the ground. Day one. Oh, God. He's going to be so... Oh, God. We're winning so hard. This is amazing. It's nice having somebody who's so good at the media doing shit like this on day one.
When
did this happen? A year?
More than you.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani inspecting broken floor tiles in an apartment on Clarkson Avenue in Prospect Lefferts Gardens, getting a first-hand look at the deteriorating conditions, from an eroding bathtub surface to a rust-covered, corroded bathroom pipe and red paint splashed about.
And you told the landlord about this?
Call some numbers.
Residents in this same building and in others owned by the landlord Pinnacle Realty, they've experienced similar conditions, from leaking bathroom ceilings to moldy drywall. Tenant unions rallying, demanding stronger tenant protections. On his first day in office, Mamdani made his first, signing 3 executive orders aimed at protecting and fast-tracking housing across the. He said this building, along with 92 others owned by the same landlord, is currently in bankruptcy proceedings and set to be auctioned off to a new owner, one who also ranks among the city's worst landlord.
In those buildings alone, there are more than 5,000 open hazardous violations and 14,000 complaints. This is an untenable situation. So today we are announcing that we will be taking action in the bankruptcy case, stepping in to represent the interests of the city and the interests of the tenants and say once and for all who this government will be fighting for.
The mayor also reestablishing the city's office to protect tenants with a mission to defend tenants' rights and intervene quickly when they face illegal living conditions. It's a step that gives tenants like Mildred Ross.
To hear this executive order is something we're really excited about.
Normal people don't want to live like Asmongold. That is how strong Mamdani's message. Yes. I thought Zohran was not going to be good for organizing. Yeah, I know. Everybody excuse me. We now live in a world where there are going to be a bunch of people that are trying to find reasons that Zohran Mamdani is bad because they've spent their entire year saying Zohran Mamdani's bad. So as Zohran goes and does what he said he was going to do and uplifts people and helps build the left even further and faster, these people are going to come with more tendacious, extreme arguments that are based on flies in order to prop up their own ego. And they're going to become more vicious and more unlikable because, and that you have to, that's why I can do something that's a superpower. There's 2 things that I could do that are superpowers online. 1, admit I'm wrong sometimes and correct it immediately. 2, the other superpower I have is I can criticize people and support them. AKA, I know how to do critical support. Knowing how to admit fault when wrong and know what critical support means and how to practice it are superpowers for the online left. Nobody else other than Hassad really is capable of doing this. Everybody else has to be like, I found a reason why this guy sucks. I hate him now. He's the same as Hillary.
This building is owned by Pinnacle Realty, a notorious landlord whose name is all too familiar to far too many renters in New York City.
Thank you.
Tenants like Josie Wells, who we will hear from shortly, contend with a lack of heat, roaches, and the kind of conditions that no New Yorker should have to live through. This building and
This is why Asmongold hates Mamdani. Asmongold hates Mamdani because Mamdani thinks his living conditions should be illegal.
92 others owned by the same landlord are in bankruptcy proceedings. And they are set to be auctioned off to a different landlord, one who ranks number 6 on the worst landlord list in New York City. In those buildings alone, there are more than 5,000 open hazardous violations and 14,000 complaints. This is an untenable situation. So today we are announcing...
Chat, we're going to commit a roach genocide this year. Although it wouldn't be a genocide. It would be an extirpation. Not a genocide, chat. Genocide refers to a race or a group, it would be an extirpation, not a genocide. We want a roach extirpation. That's the word you're looking for. Not extermination. No. Extirpation. Extirpation is even more extreme than extermination. Extirpation is the complete and utter destruction of something. Complete and utter removal. Erasure. The complete disappearance. Means you never see it again.
that we will be taking action in the bankruptcy case. Stepping in to represent the interests of the city and the interests of the tenants and say once and for all who this government will be fighting for. I have directed my nominee for Corporation Counsel, Steve Banks, to take precedent-setting action in the bankruptcy case on behalf of the renters of this building and of the thousands of other renters across New York in similar situations. We are a creditor and interested party. The city is owed money that Pinnacle never paid, and we will fight for New Yorkers' interests to safe and habitable homes. In doing so, we will protect tenants already long neglected from further neglect, and we will mitigate the significant risk of displacement they currently face. For too long, bad landlords have been allowed to mistreat their tenants with impunity. That ends today. No longer will government turn a blind eye as working-class New Yorkers, many of them in neighborhoods of color, are treated as pawns in a game where landlords never feel the consequences of those kinds of actions. Lastly, but certainly not least, you cannot hold such violations of the law to account unless you have a proven, principled, and tireless fighter at the helm. That is why I am proud today to announce my friend, Sia Weaver. As the director of the newly reinvigorated mayor's office to protect tenants. Sia has a peerless record of standing up for tenants in our city. As the director of Housing Justice for All, she has fought in Albany to deliver pro-tenant legislation, from stronger rent laws to good cause eviction to more affordable housing for all New Yorkers. We are creating the mayor's office to protect tenants, with Sia leading the charge because this work has too long been relegated to an afterthought. We fight hard to win new rights for tenants across this city, only to find that those tenants are never told of those rights. Millions of tenants across this city are eager for a day when their needs are no longer ignored and forgotten by those in power. Today marks that new era for this city, one where we will follow through on the promises we have made and where we stand up for those who have too often been left to stand alone. I want to thank every tenant who is joining us today, and I want to thank Sia Weaver for joining in this work. It is now a great pleasure and an honor of mine to introduce the new Executive Director of the Mayor's Office to Protect Tenants, Sia Weaver.
Hi, everybody. Hi. I can't believe we're here. I want to thank Mayor Mamdani. This is first. It said Mayor-elect Mamdani, but then we got to delete that for this extraordinary appointment. And I want to thank all the members of the Union of Pinnacle Tenants who came out today, and all the other tenants here in this room who are struggling for self-determination in the face of real uncertainty and fear as these buildings go through bankruptcy. And I am so happy to say with certainty that there's a mayor who is on your side. 7 years ago or more, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, Zohran was not yet in office, but he was thinking about his future, our future, everyone's future, and he asked me what the most ambitious thing a new member of the New York State Assembly could do to protect tenants from price gouging, unsafe living conditions, and from landlords who demand way more than their fair share. And since then, he's stood alongside us with a principled and steadfast vision, And I'm so honored to join this administration and to deliver on the affordability agenda alongside him. The affordability agenda starts with the rent. Too many New Yorkers are worried about the first of the month today. They're worried about paying for costs, even though our conditions are bad and getting worse. A rent freeze in the face of the fact that our living conditions are worsening every single day makes so much sense. New York is a majority tenant town. 70%. We are bus drivers, childcare workers, grocery store staff, teachers, nurses, and we're the people who take care of the shared city that we all live in. Every month on the first of the month, like today, when we pay our rent, we're the ones who are ensuring that the lights come on and our city moves forward. Over the last 15 years, I've worked with many people in this room to build powerful tenant associations, neighborhood organizations, and statewide coalitions with one goal in mind, ensuring that tenants have a collective voice in the day-to-day decisions that impact their lives. And I am really excited to continue that work now in this new role, starting today. It is going to be challenging. New York is home to some of the most valuable real estate in the world, and everything about New York politics is about the fact that our land is really valuable. It's worth a lot of money to too few people, honestly, and we're fighting over it. I know that we can do it. I know that we can build a more equitable and affordable city because nobody loves their neighbors more than tenants love their neighbors. Even if you're kind of annoyed that your neighbor is taking a bath and it's coming into your apartment. The solidarity that I've experienced in a tenant association where people from all different backgrounds come together to fight together against leaks or rats or for safety, affordability, a say in what happens every day is the strongest solidarity I've ever experienced. I've been so blessed.
Guys, gals, non-binary pals, if the first day of your administration is going into a tenant union rent strike, supporting it, appointing a leader of tenant unions to a new department in government, and talking about solidarity day fucking one, I regret to inform you he has not moderated. I regret to inform you that he is exactly who he said he was. I think one of the things that really frustrates me about the left online in particular is that people have now been forced to adopt these kind of too cool for school mentalities, where it's, I'm too cool for X, Y, and Z thing. And it's so Gen Z, and I find it insufferable, right? I find it insufferable. I mean, maybe this is a neurotypical thing. I don't know what it is. But every time someone tries to act cool, it comes across as really try hard and embarrassing to me. But other people don't seem to find it cringy. I think it has to do with how attractive they find the person that's doing the thing. Like if you find the person when I say attractive, I don't just mean sexually. I just mean, how charismatic you find them. If you find them charismatic, them trying to act cool, you think is them being cool. It's very Gen X. Yeah, Gen X, Gen Z, they have this weird put upon affect, and it's so embarrassing. I'm too cool to be excited about that. I'm so nonchalant. And it's imagine living like that. Imagine being scared of being cringe. I legitimately cannot. This is my most millennial trait. I think if you are not cringing, you are not pushing yourself. If you're so scared of embarrassment that you never legitimately get embarrassed, your life sucks. Your life legitimately sucks. If you think of the last time you got embarrassed and it was years ago, your life sucks. And what I mean is, you're scared to try new things. You're scared to be a novice. It's cool to be a novice. I know that most of the time on social media and online, on television, we see people that are expert level or top 0.1% level and everything. But being a novice is cool. Being a beginner is cool. Being an expert is a little bit cringe, to be honest. We need more novices. We need more people that are trying something new. Mamdani exemplifies that. His full commitment crosses the cringe threshold. That's why it rings earnest to us. No, I think that the reality is that he's cool enough that he can pull being earnest off. That's what it is. He is just kind of cool enough that he gets to just be cringe and it not come across as cringe. But eventually he's gonna fall. That happened with AOC too. AOC is the same way, but more people are focused on making her cringe because misogyny exists as well. Women are objectified more than men. So there is a lot more like fixation on her that's psychosexual. He was a rapper and kind of cringe, but we still like him. First of all, who gives a shit? All of us are cringe. You're fucking cringe. You are fucking cringe. There's never been a person who wasn't cringe. Abraham Lincoln was sitting there crying when his like son died for like years and years and years. That is cringe. But guess what? It's fucking awesome to be earnest and in your emotions and in your feelings. Men would go, oh my God, I can't believe he's crying. That's not manly. We're all cringe. A competent novice can learn and adapt where an expert can often be too rigid and not look beyond their previous experiences and biases. That's correct. Counterpoint Prince. Prince is my entire point. Prince is my entire point. Prince is what happens when you just are yourself and you don't give a fuck. But a lot of people would be furious if you said they liked Prince. A lot of fragile masculine men would be like, oh my God, I hate Prince at the time. I was there. I was fucking there.
Be part of the tenant movement in New York City. It's brought me into rooms I never would have been in otherwise. And I can't wait to keep doing this work with you guys. I know that no one stands up for New Yorkers more than tenants stand up for New Yorkers. And no one stands up for the New Yorkers in this building more than Josie Wells. So thank you, Josie, for opening us up into your home today. It sort of turned it into a zoo. But thank you, and I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you, everyone. The other day, I found myself rereading James Baldwin's essay, Fifth Avenue Uptown. It's a piece I've returned to many times, but this time, one passage stopped me. Baldwin writes, they patiently browbeat the landlords into fixing the heat, the plaster, the plumbing. This demands prodigious patience, nor is patience usually enough. In trying to make their hovels habitable, they are perpetually throwing good money after bad. Such frustration, so long endured, is driving many strong, admirable men and women whose only crime is color to the very gates of paranoia. He wrote those words 65 years ago in 1960, yet they read as if they were written for this very...
Sorry, chat, my stupid... I don't know what's going on with my Bluetooth, man. Like, I'll be sitting literally a foot from it, and then it just drops, and then it just remains fucked. Like, why is Bluetooth so fucking bad as a protocol? Why is it such fucking garbage as a protocol?
Moments.
And why haven't we come up with anything better?
In many Pinnacle apartments, you'll find dirty walls that haven't seen a fresh coat of paint in years, cabinets hanging precariously in kitchens and bathrooms, cracked plaster zigzags across ceilings and hallways. And disturbingly, these are among the least shocking conditions that tenants endure. These living conditions are not abstract to me. I grew up in this building and have watched it fall into disrepair. In my mother's apartment, a section of the hardwood floor has rotted. Despite repeated complaints to the landlord, that patch of flooring remains crumbly, discolored, and unrepaired. It has been that way for 7 years, long before Pinnacle filed for bankruptcy this spring. Pinnacle gambled on making our housing less affordable and our lives more miserable. Now, having failed, they want to auction off our homes to yet another corporate slumlord. But Pinnacle tenants across the city refuse to accept this cycle of neglect. We banded together to demand safe, stable homes where we can live with dignity. I stand shoulder to shoulder with tenant associations recently formed across more than 50 buildings in Flatbush, Crown Heights, Park Slope, Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood, Astoria, and Jackson Heights. In that fight, the Union of Pinnacle Tenants learned a thing or two about how to make a ruckus. Lessons passed down by the Crown Heights Tenants Union. The grassroots organizing CHTU began 13 years ago has grown into something far larger than anyone could have imagined. That swelling sound became a symphony, and from it emerged the Union of Pinnacle Tenants. And in this orchestra, I found my voice. And I have learned that when you make noise, or as the late, great civil rights activist John Lewis said, when you get in good trouble, some will dismiss it as just that, but others will lean in and listen. That is why the Union of Pinnacle Tenants is deeply honored that one of the very first acts Mayor Mamdani has taken is to visit a Pinnacle building, stand in solidarity with our fight, and announce the creation of the mayor's office to protect tenants. Mr. Mayor, thank you for listening. Today, we feel heard. And I'll now pass it back to...
And by the way, chat, that's what the kind of cynics online are trying to make you hate. Think about somebody like, gosh, I hate to even bring him up because I don't want to give him relevance, but think of this somebody like Marxism. For the past year, he's been trying to tell people not to support Zohran Mamdani, that Zohran Mamdani is bad for the left, right? He's been trashing him. He's been slandering him. He has been trying to imply that he's a Zionist, that he's a cop sellout. Think about that Marxism, right? Think about all the slandering he does on a daily basis toward me, Zohran. I think he mostly tries to, clout farm off of Hassan, so he doesn't do it directly at Hassan, but he does post annoying shit constantly, right? His claim to being a real one is that he does some, he makes videos of tenant organizers in the city that he lives in. Here is Zohran Mamdani, day one, completely rebuilding the fortunes of tenant organizing in New York City, a city of 8 million plus people, 8.5 million people. Now they're going to have a major government official pursuing the policies and using the power of the state to push tenant organizers and target the worst landlords. And every single tenant organizer in New York City is fucking ecstatic because their power and their demands are going to be achieved. Now, I'm not against tenant organizing. In fact, I love tenant organizing, and you should be in a tenant organization if you can. My only point is that the state is incredibly powerful, and it is worth seizing for ourselves, even if it's not going to achieve socialism overnight, which only anarchists think is possible because, real anarchism has never been tried. The electronic intifada defended Zohran against part 5, so their community took a lot of heat for it. They know him for over 10 years, and if he's good enough for them when it comes to Palestine, he is the man. Well, it's because there is a large focus. There's a lot of people that are antisocial personality disorders have gotten attention as contrarians online. And you know what? For the last 25 years, there hasn't been a lot of positive shit going on in politics to really look at. You have to be able to modulate yourself. And I'm sorry to keep bringing this up. It's because I want you guys to be useful. I don't want you to be social media only type people. Marxism has some critiques of Zohran, but it's wild to start hyper focusing on him. You should just discuss this directly with Marxism. It's weird to use time for this. No, it is. It's accurate because he's exactly the type of person I don't want you guys to be. I don't want you guys to be focusing on slandering the few socialists we have in office with tendacious accusations and unrealistic screeds. I want you to actually focus on reality. Look at the reality in front of you. Look at the reality in front of you. Luffy, I didn't even want to get into all the accusations against sexism and talk about what he did to me. I wanted to talk about substance, right? I wanted to talk about the substance. I didn't need to go after him personally, as there is a lot I could do. You know, there's a lot I could do to go after him personally, but I think what's more important is to look at the credibly talk about what he substantively says about politics. Because I think that's even more damning than the fact that he's done all those evil things, is that even if he did all those evil things but was right about his arguments, that would be one thing. But he's fundamentally in his core wrong. He's fundamentally in his core unuseful. He's fundamentally in his core leading people in the wrong direction. Him being personally a piece of shit is on top of that. That's not what I want to focus on, though. You get what I mean? Do you have an antenna connected to your desktop, and maybe that your Bluetooth controller uses the same antenna as your Wi-Fi card, and you have not connected them? The signal will be shit. It's a common mistake if your desktop uses Ethernet. I don't know if I have an antenna connected or not. I'll have to check. I don't think I do. So maybe that's something I could add. That's a good point. Thank you, Chatter.
The date of Eric Adams was I'm wondering, why was that order?
We speak about this day as a new era. And in order for us to fulfill the hope that that language engenders, we have to reckon with why so many New Yorkers have turned away from politics over the last few months, the last few years, the last few decades. And that was a date that marked a moment when many New Yorkers decided that politics held nothing for them, more of the same. And what we are showcasing here in this moment is not only how we will stand alongside the New Yorkers who have been left behind, but also the structures we will create such that New Yorkers in this room and outside of it can know the truth of that commitment. This is an office and an executive director that will be tasked with delivering for these tenants, that will be empowered to deliver for these tenants. And I stand also alongside a state assembly member who has ensured that this work, this struggle, this issue is one that is never lost in the headlines of.
We're talking about the executive orders from Eric Adams in 26th. One of them for his office of to combat anti-Semitism. Was that one you viewed as especially?
In our second executive order, we write about the structure of city government, and that structure also includes the continued incorporation of the Office to Combat Anti-Semitism. That is an issue that we take very seriously, and is part of the commitment that we've made to Jewish New Yorkers to not only protect them, but to celebrate and cherish them. What I would say about the executive orders at large that were issued after that date is they are ones that time and time again come up against the interests of working class people and what they need from their mayor.
Two questions. The first one.
Sorry, they took you off the press list.
Two questions. The first one, there was tax the rich chant, orders like it.
You know, I have said over the course of our campaign, and I will now say as the mayor of this city, that the two most straightforward ways to raise revenue, to not only take on the fiscal challenges that we are inheriting, but also to fulfill the affordability agenda that we have been running on, is by raising taxes on the 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million a year, by an additional 2%, and by raising the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey. And in this, we would raise $9 billion. And we put this forward because it is critical in a moment like this to not allow fiscal challenges to become an excuse for austerity, but instead to respond to them with the seriousness they deserve and the ambition that New Yorkers require, such that we not only protect what they have today, but ensure that they have more tomorrow.
The second question is Anthony Miranda going?
We haven't made any additional personnel commitments, but as soon as we do, we will share them. Let's do that one first, and I promise. I'll just bring up my nominee.
Thank you. I remember the late 1980s and the early 1990s when hundreds of families living in two shelters were in buildings that were tied up in bankruptcy court. And I represented tenants along with the city of New York, putting forward the city of New York's concerns in the bankruptcy court. And the end result in those two litigations was that those buildings became permanent, affordable, supportive housing. One of them is known as Geffner House on 42nd Street, and the other is the Times Square in Times Square. That kind of creativity resides within the law department, and we will be working with the law department lawyers to do what is in the best interest of New Yorkers in that bankruptcy case. The same as so many years ago, we came up with a pathway forward when people said it was not possible.
I continue to be confident the Rent Guidelines Board will assess the landscape for tenants of rent-stabilized units across this city and find that they are in dire need of relief. What we have seen in the last year is that they found that while the profits of landlords of rent-stabilized units went up by 12%, the median household income for those same tenants was $60,000 a year. And what we are speaking about is a reflection of what we have already seen, and I continue to be confident in that board.
You're going to intervene in this bankruptcy court. What is the purpose of this? Beyond, I know the goal is for the interest of.
First of all, the city of New York is already in the bankruptcy proceeding because the city of New York is a creditor. There's substantial fines and tax issues that are outstanding. And look, elections matter. And the position that the city has taken, the mayor has directed me to take another look at it. And I have confidence with the creative lawyers, as I said before, in the law department, that we'll come up with a way to not only address the financial needs of the city in terms of the collection of property taxes and the fines, but also so that the path forward with the tenants is one in which they can live in buildings that have conditions. We did it before, the city of New York, together with the Legal Aid Society, in the late 1980s and the early 1990s. We're going to apply that same creativity in a proceeding in which the city is already part of the.
Make sure the city gets paid. Again, I just didn't hear a specific thing of what you want to do for the tenants here. To keep them in the building, if they get bought. I mean,
Let me be clear. I have been a lawyer for 44 years. I have always wanted to confer with my clients, the deputy mayor, the person who was just appointed as head of this terrific office. She's just been appointed a few minutes ago. I want to understand very clearly what they would like us to say in the court. And then as good lawyers, the law department will move forward with what they would like us to do. But I think it is a very important moment now, today, for the city of New York to say, we're going to be in that proceeding in a way in which the path forward is not simply trying to address the city's interests. The city's interests are also bound up with the tenants' interests.
Just before you go, I'm just going to add one thing, which I think Steve alludes to, which is that the city of New York has not lacked for tools or tactics. The city of New York has lacked for intent. And that is what we are changing.
Mayor Anthony Carlo at WABC. Just want to ask you about the LIFT task force that you talked about, leveraging city-owned land for housing development. Can you just elaborate on how this is specifically different from some ambitious plans we've seen in previous administrations to build affordable housing?
So the last administration had a similar executive order that expired in December. So in this example, we're going to be looking, or with this task force, we're going to be taking an even deeper look, especially for sites that aren't clearly available for housing right now. So they may already may have other city facilities on them, other public facilities, or even private facilities that were in contract. So it's about trying to find new opportunities for housing, doing a deeper dive into the entire city's inventory, not just the inventory of the housing department or the Economic Development Corporation, the traditional agencies that produce housing. We're going to look at all city facilities and try to identify more sites that could be used for housing.
Some certain facilities that you might convert?
Well, where we did the announcement a couple weeks ago when I was appointed, that's the type of facility we might look for. That was a sanitation garage that we found a new site for. That's the type of example where instead of putting new capital dollars into fixing that sanitation garage, it was actually identified as an appropriate site for housing. So we put money into creating a new sanitation facility to clear the site in order for housing to be built. So that's the type of thing we'll be.
And by the way, chat, this idea of using land is a major socialist idea that will work. By the way, this is like, if you go around LA, I'll give you an example. If you go around LA, even in some of the most valuable land in the world, there is so much vacant property. I would love to drive around like some neighborhoods in LA and just document all the vacant property. And you'll realize that there are literally millions of acres of vacant property that is being sat on by land speculators, absentee landlords, or the city. And if those parcels of land are then put into a social housing or public housing development, that basically cuts out one of the major expenses of building housing, which is land value. And you could build millions of units without buying land from anyone, or at least forcing absentee landlords to give it up at below, at inexpensive prices. And so when Zohran is talking about this, this is the type of shit that gets me excited. It means that he's down in the weeds of public policy. He actually wants to get shit built. It's not just rhetoric about how we need or we deserve X, Y, and Z. We need and we deserve a whole lot of things. But how you deliver them, the devil is in the details. And Zohran is literally the first socialist politician that I've seen that I actually believe is going to deliver this shit. And I don't know, man, like, in America, socialist politician in America, he's not just somebody who says stuff because it makes him look good. He's focused on how it actually happens. And by the way, whenever you are doing something specific, like you're actually trying to do X and Y, Z thing, there are going to be people that try to quibble with the details, right? They're going to pull out a detail out of context. They don't know anything about anything, and they're going to try to frame that as bad. You need to learn not to allow that kind of emotional manipulation to work on you. It's actually really low effort slop. For example, Zohran signed 2 executive orders when he came into office. The first was to set up a land bank, and the second was to review what makes it, what permitting processes, what processes are slowing the construction of housing, and try to fix a task force to facilitate constructing housing faster. If you hear that and you think that is like abundance, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but you are an idiot. Those are not abundance things. Those are just good government for how to have new housing be constructed. If the government permitting processes are taking months, that's not socialist. That's stupid. Can you imagine wanting to build an apartment building for your co-op and then having to sit there and wait for a year for the government to review your plans? That is absolutely unacceptable. That is bullshit. When I submit plans to the government, it should be reviewed super fast. And then all the violations should be discovered as quickly as possible. The government should not be providing fucking pointless frictions. And if you disagree with that, you're stupid. Also, the other thing I want to say, we're not giving the word abundance to Ezra Klein. Abundance just means wealth for all. We're not giving abundance to Ezra fucking Klein. He doesn't own it. So how many of you knew when he was signing this thing? I've seen people use this photo to try to argue Zohran is like becoming an abundance. Like he's actually he's being a neoliberal. He did a press conference with tenant fucking unions and then named a major tenant union leader as the heart of a new department focusing on going after bad landlords.
Can you sit down, please? Put the phone down. Bring the phone down.
Who are these idiots on the timeline? Basically, there's a lot of people that got a following during the Bernie Sanders campaign as like attacking Hillary Clinton and being annoying towards centrists. And that grew a lot of people's following. And then guess what happened, chat? We lost. This is something that happened that I called that would happen. And I told you at the time that I wasn't going to be this type of person. I'm going to do a history lesson, chat. Bernie Sanders lost a close election, but he lost. And for a lot of people, the Bernie Sanders movement was the first time that they got involved in politics, and they were very hopeful. And for a lot of people, understanding that we lost a close election and that we could have won is too painful for their egos. I don't know why. I think it's mentally ill. And a lot of people I like basically fell into this kind of ego assuaging belief. Bernie's loss was overdetermined and there's no way a socialist can win. And that was the closest we're ever going to get. And the system is too rigged and blah, 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 blah. Because they really wanted it to happen, in order for their ego to handle the fact that they lost, they have to come up with all these structural reasons why it's impossible, right? And that's embarrassing. I think you're a child if you do that. We lost because our campaign wasn't good enough. Bernie Sanders didn't argue vociferously enough against the right wing. His plans were not tailored enough to local communities. He didn't do a good enough job undermining the Democratic Party machine, especially in the South. And he wasn't likable enough to certain core constituencies in the primary. He didn't lose because it's impossible. He lost because his campaign wasn't good enough. Was it a good campaign? Yes. Were his arguments and policies good? Yes. Was he better than Joe Biden? Yes. There's a whole bunch of structural reasons that made it harder for him to win. That's how it's always going to be until you win. And the one thing that I've always said, and I said it at the time, is we don't know when we're going to win. We have to just keep grinding away and making we have to try to seize every opportunity. Unfortunately, a lot of people got locked into that loser mentality. And then, we didn't get completely wiped out. We lost a narrow election, right? We lost a narrow election. It went to the right-wing Zionist wing of the Democratic Party. They took power of the party. They used their surrogates to attack the left and progressives. They used AIPAC money and corporate money to try to primary the left. And left-wing leaders were forced to try to, make the best of a Democratic administration, right? That's what they were forced to do, which means collaborating with or negotiating with liberals to try to get some small wins across the board. So Bernie Sanders and AOC tried to work with the Biden administration to pass shit, right? They tried to be team players and get some policies accomplished that would do some good. But for a lot of people, they want to pretend like it's a presidential campaign. They're addicted to that environment where they got social media clout, which was a sharp-elbowed primary between Joe Biden and centrists and Bernie Sanders and the left. They want to just go out there and be unhinged against the centrist 24/7. I get that. That's attractive to me. But then they became deranged. And because Bernie Sanders and AOC do not control anything within the Democratic Party, that they are a faction, the minority faction of the Democratic Party, at least right now, as far as the elected officials, they want them to be like intransigent and try to detonate the Democratic Party. Personally, I think that right now it would be a good time to do it. They disagree with me. It's a major tactical disagreement I have with them. I think we should start our own party. They believe they could win an intra-party fight. They think that it is most prudent to just try to win an intra-party primary and seize the Democratic Party, thereby blocking centrists. That's what they want to do. Zohran Mamdani showed you how it could be done. Bernie Sanders did it himself in Vermont. Okay, like they are people who fought the Democratic Party and won, so they think it's possible. That's the problem. And so we now live in this environment where a lot of people started to get clout by going after AOC and Bernie Sanders as sellouts, because that kind of antisocial, sharp-elbowed, haranguing style was all they knew. And they turned it against the people they once championed. But now the cycle is swinging back. Faith in the centrist Democratic Party is at an all-time low. Insurgents like Zohran are rising again, but he's connecting his movement with Bernie Sanders and AOC. He's doing that, okay? He's doing that because he sees them as a source of strength. He sees them as an institutional ally that will help him get things across the finish line. He doesn't see them as failures. Because no one is a complete failure or a complete success. All right? We contain both within ourselves. Zohran is saying these people paved the way for me. These people are popular. These people are our allies. These people are that are necessary for me to succeed. And that's what they hate, because it's a contradiction of what they've been doing for the last 4 years. Obsessively posting about how AOC is bad. So if Zohran Mamdani, the newest, most popular socialist politician, is saying AOC and Bernie Sanders are good, actually, they have to turn against Zohran, or they have to go back on what they've been saying about her. And if you've been watching my stream, I criticized her extensively when she did her speech for Kamala Harris at the DNC, when she said that they were working tirelessly for a ceasefire, when she made a couple bad votes in Congress for bills that were going to pass nearly unanimously anyway. I criticized her. I criticized her tactical decisions when I thought they were in error. I criticized her policy when I thought it was bad. I pushed her to be more pugilistic with the Democrats, not because I think AOC's politics are my politics. She's far to my right. But it's because she represents the frontier of socialism in American political elected office, just like Zohran does. And their success will be my success. If AOC is the fucking nominee in 2028, the DSA will triple in size or more. If AOC is the nominee in 2028, socialism online and around the world will be exploding in popularity, period. If you don't agree with that, you don't know how the world works. There's a reason why so many foreigners who live in Argentina talk about American politics every day and not Argentinian politics. Because like it or not, America's cultural hegemonic position makes our internal politics a font of where the rest of the world is going. It's not a surprise that a far-right Japanese prime minister took power when Donald Trump was president. It's not a surprise that far-right politicians around the world are succeeding when Donald Trump is president. The converse will be true as well. The pink tide can rise again in Latin America if there is somebody who is less interventionist in the White House. And this is just understanding a world system. It's not that complicated. It's not that hard. But I think there is this kind of like, and the reason why I talk about this so much, chat, is because I really need you to not incentivize people that are stupid. I need you to not boost people online that are going to cut us out of power by making us some sort of lifestylist movement. We are not lifestylists. We are about seizing fucking power. So Mamdani can cut things to get things built faster, and that's okay. But when Trump says the same thing, it's bad. It depends on what's being cut, dummy. And by the way, he's not necessarily cutting things. He's saying the government should operate efficiently and effectively. If I set up a housing co-op and I buy land and I raise the money to build the structure and I get the engineering plans and the architectural plans done and I fill out all the forms and I submit that to the government, it should not take me a year to get an answer back. I should get an answer back within a week or two. And that's what you don't seem to understand. You think it's okay. The government has been cut to the bone under neoliberalism, which means it cannot perform its basic functions well. And one of those things is approving people for building. That shit should happen quickly. That's one of the reasons housing is expensive, because if you're a co-op, you probably don't have a lot of money. But if you have to hold land for a year without doing anything, that means holding costs. That means it gets a lot more expensive to actually complete the construction. Like, give me a fucking break. I work in building development, and the best way to increase permit review would be to actually hire more city reviewers. That's exactly what Zohran's gonna do. That's the same thing. Trump shouldn't take that long. How do I not understand? I mean, if Trump agrees, then we agree with everybody that's just objectively good. Now, Trump wants things to go faster, not by hiring more reviewers, but by removing things for them to review. Do you understand the difference? Do you understand the difference between hiring a bunch more city reviewers to make sure that all of the rules are followed and variances are corrected quickly versus removing all the requirements and just passing anything who gets applied for? You understand the difference? And like, there's a lot of I think for me, the thing that really bothers me is, do you guys think China exists because of the power of their morals or the effectiveness of their governance and their organization? That's something you need to consider. Is China rising to challenge the United States under a socialist flag because they are good people or because they are effective people? And the answer is both. Okay, let's keep going. User required. Mike is completely right here. I get permits back for over 40 houses a month. The biggest determiner of a turnaround is the number of city reviewers. We see a turnaround of a month to be unacceptably long and usually expect 1 to 2 weeks for construction permits where I'm from. This is something that often happens in my chat and this is what separates me from every other streamer. When I talk about what you're an expert in, you're going to agree with me. When you disagree with me, it's going to be something you don't know a lot about. So if you're an expert, if I talk about your subject and you're an expert in it, you're going to be like, oh, Mike is right about this. If you're not an expert, that's where you're going to try to disagree with me. And if you're an expert in something and you think I'm wrong, please tell me. Mike, have you seen Zohran's excellent Mayor's listening video released yesterday? We watched the Mayor's listening video yesterday because I was doing a hype stream and a good vibes stream, and it worked. And right now we're talking about how to think. And this is not exactly the these parts of my stream are probably the least entertaining and least attractive parts of the stream because it's the most challenging to the viewers. And I'm trying to strip you of everything that makes you annoying and makes you ineffective. I'm trying to make you into somebody who is like a patient, effective political operator who doesn't think like a baby. And this is where you get challenged the most. And this is where it's the most annoying shit that we talk about. Mike, the gift sub discount is about to run out. Oh shit, chat. That's right. This is the last stream where you can gift 5 subs at a 35% discount. There's only 40 minutes left. Oh my God. You're right. This channel is where I'm challenged the most. I actually really like, what I like about Hassan is he does the same type of shit. He challenges his audience. Sometimes he does things that I don't like. The one thing I don't like that he does, if I could criticize Hassan for a second, is he says stuff like, I hate the left, or the online left sucks X, Y, and Z. I think that that is terrible. I hate that. I actually think that we should be like Zohran and defend the concept of the left and say the left isn't annoying people. If you're annoying, you're a liberal. That's what I think. I think all people that are annoying should be called liberal. I think we should associate annoying with being a liberal, not a leftist. I don't like when people associate annoying shit as online left. And that's my main fundamental disagreement. It's like whenever an anarchist comes in here to like be annoying and try to cancel me, I call them a liberal because that's what they're doing. They're doing liberal politics, the strategy of distracting from the core argument of class struggle to talk about some liberal, you know, personal beef with me. That's liberalism. So I call them what they are, a fucking liberal. Sometimes people say, Mike, why do you hate anarchists so much? It's because of much contact with online anarchism. Not anarchists in real life. Anarchists in real life are fucking cool as hell. Online anarchists is different than anarchists in real life. Anarchists in real life are cool as hell. But online anarchism is, oftentimes it's teenagers. I saw something on my feed that made my like eyebrow twitch. It was so annoying. And then I clicked on the bio and the person was 17 and from the United Kingdom. And I was like, oh, can you explain constant revolution? We already live in it, to be honest. That's the bourgeois epoch itself. We already live in constant revolution. The bourgeois epoch is already typified by constant revolutions. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is fixed. That's already happening. I think that this is so fucking like one of the things that kind of bums me out about the internet is like, because people kind of put on these personas as these like true, you know, straight talking, you know, aggressive personalities. They can't ever be like, you know, I've criticized Zohran before, but I really like what he's doing with tenant protections, because their audience would be like, you're supporting a Zionist, because everything has to be maximum volume. Everything has to be maximum maximum volume, maximum extreme, maximum hyperbolic. And it's like, did you know there are going to be some Zionists in the Zohran administration? And it's like, yeah, there probably will be. There probably will be, because guess what, chat? America is majority Zionist at this point. Now we're slowly dragging people into the right position. And it really bothers me that that people still call themselves liberal Zionist, even though that makes no sense. And it does not exist anymore. Holy shit, chat. Is it Kuhei Streams? Is that how you pronounce it? I know you've been here a long time. I'm just pronouncing names terribly. Has given 50 subs. Dublin Poppy gave 20. Meat Spin gave 5. Prod Richard gave 5. Chat, Ethan Klein is malding. Ethan Klein is fucking malding. Can I just say one thing, chat? That I'm so, you know what's going to be exciting about this year? We're going to stop talking about Ethan Klein. Like, Ethan Klein is actually not even, like, his crash outs are not even really interesting anymore. Like, all there really is to be said about Ethan Klein is, he crashed out again. And it's not even, like, funny anymore. He just has, his motion is gone. Prod Richard, thank you for the 5. Rage Weapon, thank you for the 5. Flimsy Fishy, thank you for 5. Sing Gang Super gave 10. Can we get some bended knees? Can we get some bended knees for Calm Like a Tom, who just dropped a 20 bomb? Can we get some bended knees for Morcon Mordon and MGoo72? They gifted 5. Don't bend the knee as much. Rock Intensity gave 10. A Box of Rocks for You gave 20. Dude Control gave 5. I think about radicalizing as a bucket line of sock dems, passing the bucket of liberals through leftism until they're trots. We need people to hang out at the fence of liberal. Okay, first of all, I'm not a trot. Trots are exactly the type of person that I described. They are fucking annoying pieces of shit who try to smash any kind of trade union organizing because they consider it to be class collaborationist. Hammond Fist, thank you for the 50 tier 1s. Aberrator, thank you for the 10. That's why many Trotskyites end up as neoconservatives. They end up supporting America's fascist fucking government. Delta Frost, thank you for the 25 gifted subs. It's like, I'll give you an example. It's the way that like Adin Panada is slowly aligning himself with Ethan Klein and Destiny because he's tried to attack me and Hassan. So he starts using more and more Ethan Klein and Destiny talking points because that's the only way he's going to get positive engagement now. So he's going to align himself more and more and more with Destiny and their talking points against me and Hassan because he's not going to get like successful support by making left-wing arguments. You know what I mean? He's going to slowly be algorithmically pushed to become a Destiny orbiter, which is already happening, which is actually incredible. Did you cover that link sent from earlier? You may have covered it, but Mike was right again. Israel was pulling the anti-Semitism fire card on day one. He did praise a Trotskyist org in a debate with Black Red Guard because he's a fucking moron who doesn't know anything about American politics at all. Imagine having Black Red Guard call you a fucking wrecker. By the way, Black Red Guard is my favorite Maoist. Sig Gang Super, thank you so much. Also, here's an example of what I'm talking about. Israel accuses Mamdani of anti-Semitism on first day as New York mayor. Foreign ministry says mayor has poured anti-Semitic gasoline on an open fire by scrapping the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. I gotta admit, if you don't have skin in the game by living in the U.S., I don't give a shit about your opinions on politics. No. I disagree. I disagree with that completely. That's a terrible take. That's a terrible take, chatter. Sorry. You're allowed to post about American politics. But if your posts about American politics are to support organizations that have 50 people, you're a fucking moron. Like, and I'm going to call you a moron. It's Mr. Murphy, an unbelievable 50 bomb. While Delta Frost dropped 25, Aberrator with the 10, Hammond Fist with the 50, Tanatuva with the 20, Revoked with 5, the King of Wit with the 20. What the fuck level are we on right now? Holy shit, we're on level 19? Chat, remember, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the Hype Train Conductor badge. No one's given any bits and we're at level 19. Don't forget the bits. Mgoo, the King of Wit, dropped 20. Can we get a bended knee for the King of Wit? There's just too many big gift bombs. Jesus Christ. Greta D, thank you for the 5. That guy Wraith, thank you for the 5. Cedar Miyagi, thank you for the 5. Obsidian 84, thank you for the 5. King of William, thank you for the 10 tier 1s. That's incredible. Holy shit. Dick Cheney's oil money. How many did you just drop? Holy shit. Chat, level 20. Level fucking 20. Holy. King of William, thank you for the 10. Tinker Sky, thank you for the 5. Felonious, thank you for the 5. Obsidian, thank you for the 5. Cedar Miyagi, thank you for the 5. That guy Wraith, thank you for the 5. Have I thanked everybody? If you gifted subs, ACAB Forever, thank you for the 10. If you gifted subs and I didn't thank you, I'm so sorry. Yammerstan with the tier 3. Atlantic Tuna for the 10. Chicken 0409. ACAB Forever. Okay, I thanked you. Level 20 is fucking crazy. Holy buns of steel. The discounts are finally going away. So make sure that you get your subscriptions and your gifts in while you still have the time. 3 Bakes gifted subs gave 26. Yamada, thank you for the tier 2. 13 subs is $50, by the way, chat. Commoner, thank you for the 10. Dude, what? Thank you for the 10. What the fuck? Holy shit. Chat, we're at 7,737 subs. Holy. All right, chat. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about him anymore, but it is make my day. It is. This is really funny.
As hideous on the inside as he is on the outside, which is rare. Mike from PA, enemy of the show. This dick-riding communist, bad empanada. Mike from PA, and Frogan. Fierce warriors.
Not chill,
people
thank
like
you for the 10.
Journalists, Mike from PA, all these people, they are fucking co-signing. They are participating.
This isn't my favorite one. No, this isn't my favorite one, chat. My favorite one is the other one. Fuck. What happened? Why can't I go to clips? My other one? No, that's not my favorite one. My favorite one is fuck. Which is the one? What's my favorite one? This one.
Mike from PA, to me, is a full-on grifter. One day I'm going to do a video on this guy. He is the most pathetic dipshit on all of Twitch. And just to show you how easy this grift is, this guy is like relatively successful. And he is like talented. He is vile. And he is cringe as fuck. What's his average view count?
Probably like a couple K.
Couple K?
Does he really get a couple K?
Nice. And somehow he still succeeded. You know? He has 7,000 members or something. Every time I see that number, I'm like, whoa. I'm happy to say that his sub count is getting lower. Yeah, I mean, it's closer to 8,000 before.
Chat, when I'm at 7,000 subs and I am a one-person show, like my Twitch stream is 100% produced, organized. I get all of the videos. I get all of the articles. I do all of the analysis. Nobody writes me an article summary. Nobody writes me an outline. Nobody feeds me talking points. Everything you see is produced by me the day of. Like, I don't have a manager. I have some people that I have editors who post videos on YouTube that they edit, they title, and I pay people more than those videos make. Because I'm trying to figure out YouTube. But the idea that having my sub count is only 7,000 is fucking hilarious. I'm pretty sure I probably have more members than they do at this point. How many members does H3 have? Is that something they keep public? Is there a place where you can look at that? I'm sure they have thousands of paying members because they are one of the old OG channels and they do post like pretty nonstop. I have more girlfriends than you? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Adin now has a Substack that he wrote, The Pro-Palestine Counterinsurgency. There's an ongoing effort to normalize Zionism in the pro-Palestine movement. This is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. This guy is so out of touch with reality. It's actually dangerous how stupid he is. America, like the pro-Palestine movement led by leaders like Zohran is more successful than it's ever been. And it is growing. And he's trying to pretend like there's a counterinsurgency. What? We're massively insurgent. If you want to understand what reality looks like, one of the major leaders of the encampment was at Zohran's fucking inauguration wearing a DSA beanie. Do you understand? That's the reality? Mahmoud Khalil in a DSA beanie during the inauguration. Who the fuck are you, George? You pathetic worm. George, why did you move to Argentina? Answer the question. George, why did you move to Argentina? Why aren't you in Australia leading a pro-Palestine encampment? Or excuse me, why aren't you in Australia? You're white. Go back to Australia. Why aren't you leading the pro-Palestine movement in Australia? You make videos in English. Why are you in Argentina? Go back to your home country, and they're one of the biggest supporters of Israel. What are you doing, man? But is Mamdani part of DSA? Yes! He is a DSA member who does organizing for DSA. What am I implying? I'm implying that I want to know why George lives in Argentina. If you're coming up with dark reasons, that's your problem. I didn't imply shit. I'm asking him why he lives in Argentina. Argentina is probably one of Israel's biggest supporters that isn't the United States in the world right now. House passes $1.6 billion to deliver anti-China propaganda overseas. Roughly when did Adin turn on Hassan? Hassan and I are doing all this pro-China stuff, or at least anti-New Cold War. Technically, the American State Department cannot fund people in America directly. It's against the law. But they can fund foreign journalists. Something to consider. And I Show Speed is a fucking generational talent, but I don't know why you link me this. Like, this is actually incredible stunt work, and I hope he doesn't get hurt doing this kind of level of like shit because it's crazy. particulates. I think one of the things I really love about I Show Speed is like, this is the best propaganda for leftism that you can imagine, which is just going around and visiting the world and realizing that people in China and people in Africa are just people and they live lives like ours and they have the same values and they are the same. We are all the same. We are all one human race. And being so open and trustworthy and available and so famous and like fear is a mind prison. Fear is a mind prison. I'm somebody who will go in any neighborhood. I Show Speed. He goes in any neighborhood in any country. This guy is fucking insane. He went to Angola first. I Show Speed becoming famous and becoming a better person every year is one of the most wholesome things that could have ever happened. And chat, this is one of the reasons why I'm hopeful. Because if personalities like I Show Speed are now being promoted, like if people are organically turning to people like him and away from people like Adin Ross and Asmongold and Trainwrecks, that's incredible. What a cool guy, dude. I'm an I Show Speed fan. He's really it's so amazing how mature he is for his age. And when you compare it to like the 40-year-olds like Adin Panada, embarrassing. Okay, I don't want to watch the whole speech again, but there's one part that I want you guys to see.
Here is what I want you to expect from the administration that this morning moved into the building behind me. We will transform the culture of City Hall from one of no to one of how. We will answer to all New Yorkers, not to any billionaire or oligarch who thinks they can buy our democracy. We will govern without shame and insecurity, making no apology for what we believe. I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist. I will not abandon my principles for fear of being deemed radical. As the great senator from Vermont once said, what's radical is a system which gives so much to so few and denies so many people the basic necessities of life. We will strive each day to ensure that no New Yorker is priced out of any one of those basic necessities. And throughout it all, we will, in the words of Jason Terrence Phillips, better known as Jadakiss or Jay to the Moi, be outside.
We will be outside. Yeah, that's bad in Panada. Ugh. Ugh. Well, chat, let me just say thank you so much for the hype train. We got level 22 and we got 624 subs. That is an incomprehensible number of subs. Holy, like, honest to God, this community, that's incredible. Thank you so fucking much. I don't know what even to say. So I'll try to say that this community, you have given me something that is so precious, and that is the weight of responsibility. How do your subs work? Does it reset every month? It depends on the type of sub. Because of your support, because of your viewership, because of your gifts, I have to do more. And that's my 2026 resolution. I want to do more. I want to help more candidates. I want to promote more organizations. I want to get out on the streets more. And that is a gift that only you guys can give me. You don't give me the luxury of apathy. You don't give me the luxury of a sense of superiority. You give me the weight of duty. And that is so amazing. And I appreciate you for that. That I cannot rest on my laurels because of you. I can't just be comfortable because I understand how difficult it is to make $1 in this fucking economy, in this world. And when you entrust your support to me, I have to do more. Do I feel the weight of duty in this chest? Yeah. Duty sounds like poop. Haha. This is by far my most favorite stream on Twitch. Thank you, Mike. You got me to get out of the streets, join DSA, and help Kelsey Bond elected in Atlanta. What do you do works? I mean, Kelsey got herself elected. I only do a little bit, and I want to do more. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Speaking of that, city charges were dropped. Georgia judge dismisses racketeering charges against cop city activists. Dozens of protesters have been indicted after the state attorney general said their movement amounted to a violent criminal enterprise. The RICO case has been defeated. A Georgia judge dismissed racketeering charges on Tuesday against dozens of activists who had fought the construction of a police and fire training center outside of Atlanta that became known as Cop City, dealing a major setback to state officials who had pursued an unusually aggressive case against the protesters. The plan to transform a spread of force on the outskirts of the city had drawn activists from across the country who camped in the trees and repeatedly clashed with law enforcement officers for nearly 2 years. After sweeping them from the woods, Georgia officials agreed that the demonstrators were part of a criminal enterprise bent on sowing violence and disorder. And in 2023, the state attorney general charged 61 activists with racketeering. The case became one of the largest of its kind brought against protesters. In his ruling on Tuesday, Judge Kevin M. Farmer of Superior Court of Fulton County cited what was essentially a technical misstep by the Attorney General's office as justification for tossing the charges against the protesters named in the racketeering indictment. The judge found that state prosecutors had failed to get Governor Brian Kemp's permission to move forward with a case that would otherwise be within the remit of a local district attorney. Yet Judge Farmer indicated that prosecutors had not exhausted their ability to pursue a criminal case against the activists. That permission may still be sought and the charges brought properly, but they were not in this case. The protesters had been stirred to action in 2021 over proposals for the Atlantic Public Safety Center as the training facility is officially known. The center, originally slated to cost $90 million, would replace facilities that officials described as outdated and ill-equipped to handle the training needs of police officers and firefighters in a complex urban environment. Designs for the facility included mock versions of a nightclub, convenience store, and houses. So there you go. My teacher was so patient with me, and she was a wokie, so I hope she's out there thriving. Yeah. Now, what does the state of Georgia have to give them in return for harassment, assault, malicious litigation, and active conspiracy to overstep government abilities and law? Nothing until we seize power. Nothing until we seize power. You understand why seizing power is so important now? You understand why electing or and otherwise attaining control over the state is so important? Donald Trump is giving pardons to the January 6th rioters. We could give settlement dollars to every single activist prosecuted. We could give every single one of them peace of mind. That's why power is needed. The Democrats are now leading the congressional ballot by 11 points, and Donald Trump's approval rating is now 57 disapprove. And that's with the economy not crashing. Can you imagine how popular Donald Trump would be if we had a recession? This is with Donald Trump trying to beat war drums with Venezuela. Mike, is this a sign that we're not in full fascism because the fascist loses court cases and have to follow them? We're not in full fascism. If we were in full fascism, I wouldn't be online. I would be probably in prison or an exile. Like, let's, obviously, come on. They wouldn't be allowing Zohran Mamdani to be sworn in if we were in full fascism. We're on the precipice. There are minority populations being targeted, but we can still rescue them. We haven't been defeated. Barbarism has not won. Open presents, thank you for the 100 bomb. Oh my God. Holy shit. All right, let's keep going. Oh, there's a new video from Second Thought. Everyone knows it's a bubble. What happens now? And this, to me, is the question. I think we live in an ideological space where the kind of Mises conservatism is out of vogue, and this kind of fascist interventionism is in vogue, where Donald Trump will print infinite money and borrow it in order to prop up his friends, which is what makes this bubble. That's why it's not deflating, because they feel like there is what they call a government put. In other words, there is moral hazard where it's heads I win, tails you lose. So the rich are just flipping those coins. And right now they've been landing on heads.
Is the AI bubble popping? You might have been watching your stocks today and wondering that.
The threat of a bubble. An AI bubble burst. Reality check could be coming for AI valuations.
Another day of tech underperformance on some concerns about AI growth.
If the whole thing blows up, which is a possibility, I don't know if it's going to happen, the pitchforks are going to come out for these guys.
For the last couple months, it seems that all anyone can talk about is the AI bubble and mass layoffs. I'm seeing a suspicious amount of, for the first time since 2008 headlines, and looking around, it seems like everyone is cutting jobs. This might just be life in an AI-first economy, and it truly is an AI-first economy we have here. I know you're already seeing the news, but there is a stupid amount of money going into this thing. Like, Nvidia recently hit an insane $5 trillion valuation. They make the chips AI models run on, and they're now worth more than the GDP of every single country except the US and China. One company making essentially a single product being worth more than, say, all of Big Pharma combined. And AI is way more than just this one company.
I mean, that's just totally fucking stupid. Can we be honest? That's just totally fucking stupid. Do I need a league for the Wilson inauguration? Yes. Send it my way. Thank you, Solia.
Global spending on AI is predicted to reach
it's so stupid it makes you scoff.
$375 billion this year. If you exclude all that investment in AI data centers and processing for 2025, GDP growth for the entire rest of the US economy was only 0.1%, according to some Harvard economists. Basically, AI is the economy now. Nothing else is even coming close. And that's all very scary because something doesn't add up with this business. It feels a little Ponzi schemey.
But first, it's ad read time, because God knows we're not making any money from YouTube AdSense. Thank you, Google. Skip ahead to this timestamp if you hate me and don't want to support my work. This episode is sponsored by Aura, the only cool company on this cursed platform. Google your name real quick. Odds are some of your personal information comes up, right? If I search my name, it's just my public social media profiles. That's because Aura is my digital watchdog. If they get even a whiff of my data being sold, traded, or exposed in a breach anywhere on the internet, including the dark web, they track down the source and make sure they have a bad time. There are companies out there called data brokers whose whole purpose is to find and sell your data. They do it without your consent, and they make billions selling it to marketers, scammers, and even stalkers. They are the worst. Thanks to Aura, they're not my problem anymore. Aura forces them to remove my data, and they keep it removed.
Listen, I think the company name is Auraless. You don't get to call your company Aura and then be some sort of like this. No, fuck you.
But that's just part
but
of
it
why
might be a good, I mean, the service doesn't sound bad. I'm just like, it might actually be a good service. It's just, you're calling yourself Aura. Come on, man.
Use and genuinely appreciate Aura. It's an all-in-one security tool. They provide real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking, 24/7 identity theft monitoring, a secure VPN, antivirus, parental controls, password manager, credit checker, and a lot more. And if somehow anything does happen, Aura includes $5 million in identity theft insurance. And they have US-based fraud experts on call 24/7. If you're anything like me, I'm sure you're sick and tired of these stupid, evil little companies stealing your personal information and using it to make a quick buck. That's why I use Aura. It keeps me and my family safe online. If you're ready to protect your data, you can get 2 weeks absolutely free when you use my link. During those 2 weeks, you'll see exactly where your data is being leaked and who's doing it. Give it a try. I promise you'll appreciate the peace of mind. And now, back to the show.
Okay, you may have seen these diagrams before. They show how AI companies are in business together. To some extent, it's simple. First, a company like Nvidia makes chips. Oracle buys those chips for $40 billion to power its data centers. Then OpenAI makes a deal with Oracle for $300 billion to use those data centers. So far, nothing weird. Except that a big chunk of those $300 billion that OpenAI gave to Oracle actually came from Nvidia in a $100 billion deal that happened just a few months ago. Nvidia's money comes from Oracle, Oracle's money comes from OpenAI, and OpenAI's money comes from Nvidia. Huh. Now everyone's got high revenue on the books. Everyone's stock goes up. And next month, everyone is making a new multi-billion-dollar deal, passing around what looks like the same trillion-dollar check. All the while making bigger and bigger promises to their shareholders that the line won't stop going up anytime soon. And the big three, Oracle, Nvidia, OpenAI, they're not the only ones playing this game. Everyone in AI seems to be doing this. You can swap out OpenAI for Anthropic or Google, Nvidia for AMD, and Oracle for Amazon, and the story doesn't change. But it's not that simple. That $100 billion deal we just talked about wasn't just a one-time transaction from Nvidia to OpenAI. NVIDIA is now an investor in OpenAI, and also Intel, and also CoreWeave. Everyone is simultaneously investing in each other, sometimes producing hardware, sometimes providing servers, sometimes developing their own models, and sometimes doing a combination of these things. The lines are blurring as everyone is both hedging their bets by spreading their investments around while also trying to be top dog themselves. One circle overlaps with another, and another, and another, and oh my god, is this a bubble? Not according to tech CEOs.
Dario, you've said that AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20%.
According to everyone in the AI space, even though some of the biggest players like OpenAI aren't profitable yet, they will be eventually. Or one company will be, at least. Eventually, AI will get so good it'll save us, it'll save billionaires so much on labor costs that this investment will pale in comparison. All this hype is justified because AI will take over our jobs. And that's already true, right? A lot of the layoffs we've seen recently have been because of automation and AI. Both YouTube and Amazon recently said so. Except, they're lying.
That's not actually true. Like, AI hasn't replaced workers yet. It's maybe changed the way they work a little bit, but we're not in a setting yet where we need less workers.
No one using AI at work is having a good time. Just recently, the Financial Times interviewed a bunch of companies about this. The executives told them AI was this great tool, so useful, and on and on. You know the spiel. Except when FT then checked with actual workers, nobody was using it. And this is consistent with the research we have on AI adoption. In one study, Gen AI failed in 95% of cases where companies tried implementing it. In another study of 25,000 Danish workers, introducing AI meant more work for about 8% of people. And in another study focusing on programmers specifically, AI made coding take 19% longer on average.
Now, if this is surprising to you, it's because you've actually not done any of these. The problem with programming is that once you start relying on these tools, your ability to program will plateau. You're not learning, right? You're just copy pasting from the AI prompts, and you don't learn processes, and your mind is not cranking at these problems and then maybe seeing like optimizations. And then, you know what I mean? So it becomes spaghetti code. It becomes more and more opaque to the programmer themselves. Whereas if you wrote the program yourself and you work through it and you optimize it yourself and you understand it, you are actually going to raise your level of understanding and skill. It's like the difference between writing 100 speeches and copy pasting 100 speeches from an AI prompt. If you write 100 speeches, you're going to be a hell of a lot better at speech 100 than you were at speech 1. But if you just copy paste prompts, you're going to have the same level of skill at prompt 100 as you did at prompt 1. And I think this is the main fear I have with AI, is that the brain is a muscle. And the more shortcuts you take, the more you rely on the shortcuts. I'll give you an example from my own life. I used to know, whenever I used to move to a new city, I used to learn the neighborhoods faster than I do now, because just by traveling around and going to places, I would be forced to like study maps, remember what turns go where, you know, become hyper vigilant about what exits go where and what neighborhoods are in what direction relation to others. And now I can just plug in the final address into my navigator. Because I have that crutch, I end up taking longer to learn my city. And like, so I see it in my, but I still keep using it because in the next trip, using the AI ensures I get to my destination faster than me just keeping the AI off and trying to learn and possibly making a wrong turn and then having to stop and, gain my bearings that way. This is biology efficiency. The brain uses as little energy as possible. And that's the same thing with your body and working out. Like, your body doesn't have to burn muscle. Like, we could imagine a different biological system that your body never burns muscle. But because we are creatures that existed in biological scarcity, food scarcity, our body has systems of returning unused muscle by getting rid of it, because muscle requires energy to maintain. So in order for you to have muscle, the muscle has to be sustained via food and it has to be sustained via use. But we could engineer there could be a biology where muscle is just never atrophies.
And you and I know that programmers aren't the only ones cleaning up after shitty AI output. It's pretty obviously useless for most companies, and will likely only have a limited set of applications. It probably won't be this huge economic silver bullet for capitalists that'll cut costs across every industry. So why, right? Why is everyone so hyped on AI, and why are all these people being fired
I know, Solio.
if AI is so useless? Because managers always want to fire people. Now they have an excuse.
And the main reason is that the AI economy is actually driving a lot of the economic stagnation that we're seeing too. It's not avoiding it or delaying it.
AI has given companies a perfect cover to screw workers over. Even though the main story right now seems to be all these layoffs, not as many people know that we're in a period of increased rehiring. At all these tech companies, at least 5% of the workers that are fired, quote unquote, because of AI, are rehired soon after, with that number only going up. And for the rest, some of their jobs are simply put back on the market, just at a lower rate. Like at Klarna. A few videos ago, we talked about how Klarna was replacing people with AI. It turns out that was a bit of a lie. The CEO recently walked that policy back and started hiring people again. Not out of the goodness of his heart, but because AI just couldn't cut it. And he's not alone. Every company is seeing that the labor market is rough right now. Every company has told its shareholders that it was a good idea to invest in AI, but nobody is seeing good results. And that would be a problem.
The reason why we're not seeing like the true unemployment is because gig work has basically hidden the lower class. Before gig work was invented, working class people not having formal jobs would have showed up on the unemployment rolls. But now if you have gig work and you do a Uber delivery or you do an Uber taxi drive for a few hours a week, the government says you're employed. And so when you look at historical unemployment rates and you compare it to now, you'll be like, wow, unemployment was 6% back then. I remember the economy being a lot better because it was. There wasn't Uber, like basically everything since Uber, everything since these kind of like apps grew is a different type of employment rate than now. And this is something that, you know, neoliberals have no incentive to elucidate. But everybody who's been a 1099 versus a W-2 understands that a 1099 is a quadrillion times worse.
If those two things weren't mutually beneficial. But by pretending like AI is changing everything, managers can both let people go and justify how much they've spent on this useless tech. Then they'll quietly rehire a few people and make those still on the payroll pick up the slack. Altogether, thanks to AI, jobs become more precarious and work becomes more intense, replacing people. It's not making things easier. It's just making work worse. Not only are you doing 2 or 3 people's jobs when your coworkers are fired, AI needs constant babysitting, so everyone left is stuck cleaning up hallucinations and extra fingers and yellow tint. And all this boils down to the fact that managers and workers just don't see the same thing. A manager's experience with AI is probably that it writes a pretty damn good email, and a worker's experience with AI is getting a report with 1,000 mistakes that would not have been there if a human had typed it up. Managers don't have the expertise to differentiate between bad and good the way somebody who actually does the job can, which is why you have managers telling FT that AI is great. Meanwhile, everyone down the ladder is doing everything they can to avoid using it. Except managers are the ones who choose who gets fired. So what about this bubble then? If the main takeaway here is that AI is a front for layoffs, that still doesn't answer the question of what happens when investors catch on to how useless it is. Well, we still don't know. From what we've been able to find and from talking to experts, it seems like there isn't a unanimous consensus on the risk here. On the one hand, these convoluted financing networks and overlapping investments could mean a potential crash would be insulated from the rest of the economy and mostly affect the tech industry. After all, the major players here, like Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon, these are all big, profitable companies spending a lot on AI using cash reserves. They are wealthy enough that they could take a loss if AI turns out to be a dud, and it'd be nothing more for them than a bit of wasted money. But as time goes on, these same companies are coming up with new financing schemes that could be a lot riskier. Not for them, but for the rest of us. Meta specifically has started financing the build-out of data centers in a way I won't pretend to fully understand. In part because it's designed to be opaque, in the other part because I'm not smart like that. But essentially, Meta has created tradable securities, financial instruments, using the leases of their data centers. These securities are bought and sold, including by hedge funds that are now getting involved and taking on more debt to finance these data centers being built. There's a concern that if the companies renting out these data centers don't have the revenue to pay their lease, because, for example, nobody wants to spend money on AI anymore, that could ripple through this whole network and into things non-tech people have a...
Basically, when you study the economy, you will realize something, which is profit comes from exploiting labor. That's the best way to put it. That's why you're seeing more profit in things like medicine, right? Because medicine is labor intensive. Services are labor intensive. And so the more laborers you have, the more you could exploit them, the more you can actually derive profits. That's why you're also seeing profits decline per unit sold in places that are basically, at any type of good that can be manufactured in China, profits are going down. Prices are going down. Every service or good that has to be manufactured in the US, profits are going up and prices are going up. Is it profit just making more money? Yes, but what makes more money? How come televisions are getting cheaper, even though they're getting better? Why are televisions getting cheaper, even though they are better? It's because the technology around producing televisions is getting more automated. There are less actual workers involved in the production of a television. And the fewer workers, so the capital that has been invested into creating televisions has resulted in a process that could give you a finished television with a minimum of actual human labor. The human labor, the productivity of the average television manufacturing employee is massively rising. That's because capital intensity is going up. And that means prices go down. So yes, you're right that profit is a snapshot in time, meaning the cost of goods sold plus all of the fixed costs plus labor, minus the minus the price of the commodity equals or loss. And we have a situation where in capitalism, there is a tendency of the rate of profit to fall as productivity goes up. And why is that? Because there's only so many televisions you and I could have. Like when you have a television in every room, are you going to buy more TVs? Your consumption of televisions as an individual person probably has an upper limit. Even if televisions are extremely cheap, you're not going and buying more because you don't have any place to put them and you wouldn't use them. And it would be a waste. And so as the productivity of televisions increases, as the automation and technology of a television increases, we might be able to produce a hell of a lot more televisions than the total demand of televisions maxes out in all of humanity. And so there is kind of a cap in the amount of money that could possibly be made in making televisions. So over time, the rate of profit in televisions is going to go down to zero. And this is not just a Marxist idea. This is also a capitalist idea. Under neoclassical economics, a perfectly competitive market has zero profit. Profit is a sign of market error. That's why a lot of people talk about profits. Profits are a market signal, meaning not enough investment has gone into this area. We need more investment in this area because profits are being made. That's what the market signal is. A perfectly competitive market has no profit. Now, if you're seeing a lot of profits happening, that's an indication that neoclassical economics has a lot of problems. If you go on LinkedIn or Indeed right now, there are so many remote jobs just to verify AI output or specific industries, especially the industries that don't have a bunch of publicly available data. On the topic of AI, guess who's made opponent November just co-sponsored SDHB 1005 provide a sales and use tax exemption for goods and services related to data center operations. He is making this election very, very easy. Right? Oh, yeah, hell yeah, brother. This is a thing that you could definitely run on. If I was running in a local office, I would be running against AI 100%.
Like pensions and mutual funds. Eventually, that could mean a crash that slips into the banking sector and affects everyone, not just tech companies. This is a hypothesis that more and more people are warning about in outlets like the Financial Times, which isn't exactly a socialist zine. And none of this is being helped by OpenAI already hinting at government bailouts, or the state pushing AI aggressively into everything from bureaucracy to education, or the fact that to achieve their projected profitability, AI companies are going to need $2 trillion of revenue in less than 5 years' time. OpenAI currently loses money every single time you use ChatGPT. There is a lot riding on them reversing that trend. And if they do, it'll be because they've successfully done the thing that puts half of us out of a job. So, yeah. In the face of all this, it is clearer than ever just how important worker organizing is. This whole racket is currently being held up by hype and managers being able to fire people at will. The more we can make that impossible, the more we can guarantee that we're hired at fair wages, the more we can resist our jobs becoming executive nanny to the robot, the less this scam works. The more we get people in power who won't be blinded by Meta's quarterly reports and invite them to dinner, the less this scam works. There is nothing inevitable about AI replacing us. AI, as it is deployed in the United States, is a scam. It is a waste of time, money, electricity, and water. No reason to treat it as anything but.
I've long thought I'd be best suited as a consultant or behind-the-scenes staff or messaging manager for campaigns. Do you have any advice on how to get into those fields? Those fields are for people that have a long career of successfully winning campaigns, unfortunately, or being connected to those that do, typically through nepotistic networks. So if you want to get into messaging consulting for campaigns, you either need to be a Nepo baby or you need to have like won multiple times using your method. So my advice would be, I guess, go and win a bunch of elections as a campaign manager. But in all seriousness, if you want to get involved in electoral campaigns, you need to go and get involved with your local progressive organizations or socialist organizations, get involved with their electoral working group, show up when they endorse or run candidates, participate in their elections as a hardworking person, get hired as a professional staffer, or look for progressive campaigns that are hiring and apply and go work for them. Build a resume. Why would China be investing so much into AI if there wasn't any value to it? I think the main problem is that I have to say that I have a position that's a little bit different than most people. I have a shorthand. If China is doing something, I should be humble about whether it's stupid or not, because they're very smart. And if the Chinese Communist Party is doing something, there's probably some amount of value there. All right. And I need to be a little bit more humble about it because they're not falling for scams. OK, the second thing is, I think AI could have value in very specific task focused areas that are highly limited. I think AI might be able to help us in certain areas of like pattern recognition or something like that. The idea that it's going to like replace human work or creativity is nonsense. And I think China is kind of walking a middle path that makes a lot of sense, which is technology looks promising, invest in the infrastructure, invest in not being behind in the chips, but also recognize that it's not like going to end human labor. So that's and the thing with China in particular is they're investing in a green environment. They're investing in green energy. They're investing in non-carbon sources of electricity so that they can develop these kind of networks without destroying the environment. Meanwhile, the United States is just focused on building coal plants and natural gas plants to pollute and suck up all the water. So I tend to think that AI is overblown and it's a bubble, but there might be some value that could be derived. And it's not even really AI. It's an LLM. It's a large language model. I think there is some value that can come from these LLMs, but that it's probably somewhere around 1% of what people are saying. So it's a bubble. That 1% is still like, hey, that could be pretty good. but it's not what people are making it out to be. Zohran to create a new Office of Mass Engagement. Mayor Zohran Mamdani will sign an executive order today to create a new Office of Mass Engagement to be led by Tasha Van Auken, the mastermind of the campaign's field strategy. Ideas to bring campaigns movement building expertise to city government and give a voice to those typically left out of it. This is so fucking... This is the type of shit that people don't like on social media, which is a sign to me that Zohran Mamdani is going to win. TSA right wing is in control. SMC has won. No. First of all, they're not right wing. Okay, some of them I would consider to be too liberal for my taste. But let's show some comradeship. Okay, like come on, man. Don't allow online Maoists to poison your brain. You know what I mean? Like, don't let online Maoists poison your brain. I am to the left of, I'm to the left of Groundwork. I'm to the left of SMC. But I think that's where most people who are leftists probably are politically at this point. They're not where I'm at. I don't like Mug. I'm not quite, I am sympathetic to Mug, but I think there's too much like caucus infighting from them. So it kind of turns me off. I think the energy that the internet creates has turned me off. And they spread some misinformation that pissed me off quite a bit. So it is what it is. Jibberwalk says Kulaki posted an article about the difference between US and Chinese approaches to AI. In short, China may be focused on embodied AI, e.g. robotics and industrial scheduling that has immediate applications in areas like manufacturing. I could already see discussions about the Mamdani admin being too large and having too many people on the payroll. Oh, are they going to come up with shit that are you going to come up with shit that you pulled out of your ass? Oh no. Good luck with that. No, every AI firm is working with embodied AI. LLMs were a spark and everyone is trying to retrofit them onto robotics now. I mean, yeah, that's because the Chinese are already doing that. But the Chinese are ahead of us in robotics. Chat, I seen this thumbnail and I like Taylor. I'm not trying to like criticize Taylor in any way. I'm just saying that I think sometimes we all become a little bit fixated on our own interests and we start to, or not interest in the sense of like personal interest. I just mean like things we're interested in. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest, I think I disagree with Taylor on a couple important things. Like, for example, I think children should not have their phones at school. Like, I think children should be off their phones and paying attention in class. I think there should be like classes where we learn about how to use our phone better, maybe, or we learn how to use apps and tools and computers and things like that in a structured environment. But I don't think kids should be on their phone during math class. Also, people need to learn how to be bored, which is something that I no longer have the ability to do myself. I feel like I don't know how to be bored. I don't exist in boredom. Only boring people get bored. Very true. Like, I grew up with phones in school, and back then if teachers saw phones, they took them. I don't know what happened to that. Well, I mean, again, it's just a change in the culture. I agree with Taylor on a lot, but I also don't agree with her that the phones are not addictive and things like that. I think they are specifically, the apps are designed by billionaires using psychologists to figure out engagement traps. And like, there's a reason why the infinite scroll was invented. It's so you spend more time on the app. Like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with her like argument on that point. If you saw the reactions to some middle schoolers losing their phone, nobody would agree they aren't addictive. They're I mean, I'm sorry, but
my job is to defend their civil rights, because if their civil rights can be taken away, then so can the civil rights of every other American citizen.
A few months ago, the UK's Online Safety Act went into effect, causing absolute chaos across the internet. Overnight, UK regulators blocked internet users' access from everything to Spotify playlists to SpongeBob SquarePants GIFs. Information about things like Joe Biden's police funding plan was restricted, along with posts about an up-and-coming political party in the UK. Police violence videos were wiped from the internet, the subreddit for war crimes was blocked, and dozens of forums for everything from new motherhood advice to Alcoholics Anonymous treatment was blocked. The Online Safety Act even prevented gamers from tweaking colors in games like Minecraft, uploading their government ID. While the big tech companies rolled over and complied with the law, a small but unlikely group of platforms is fighting back. These platforms include Kiwi Farms, Gab, and 4chan, and they're waging a legal battle that could reshape the entire global internet. Preston Byrne is a lawyer representing these platforms in their fight against the UK government. A fierce free speech defender, Preston is making the case that UK and EU regulators do not have the legal right to censor the speech of Americans in America. Today, he's joining me to discuss the global battle he's undertaken and how some of the worst websites online might just save the internet for all of us. Preston, welcome.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Okay, I'm so excited to talk to you. Longtime follower online. I don't know how I found your Twitter account, but I feel like everything you post, I'm like, yes, retweet.
I'm not a free speech absolutist. I'm not. I guess the best way to put it is I believe that capitalists should be suppressed. And I think that's a good thing. Now, people can disagree with me. That's fine for now.
You are such a fierce defender of free speech. So can you tell me a little bit about kind of how you got involved in this world of like international free speech defense? And like, where did this all begin, this sort of battle between, I guess, these American tech companies?
Also, the website she named, specifically the farms, is not a free speech website. It is a slander and stalking website. It's not a free speech website. And a lot of the speech that goes on there should probably not be, there should be consequences for it. Who determines that? Objective reality, a reasonable person. Most of the time, the reason why Kiwi Farms people are not currently being sued or otherwise criminally sanctioned is because they are anonymous. And it's hard, or they are in jurisdictions where we can't protect ourselves. There is no objective reality. I know.
And these foreign governments in Europe, especially.
Yeah, sure. So the fight began in some really dark and strange corners of the internet after Donald Trump was elected president in 2016. So when that occurred, there was kind of a great reckoning in the sort of middle and left of American society. And that's really where a lot of the censorship came from, to be blunt, because back in 2015-16, the internet was a very anarchic place. And so what happened was they started trying to regulate all kinds of online platforms. So you saw an increase in content moderation to companies like Meta.
Now, why did they try to regulate some of the content? Well, there was a lot of child pornography being posted. There was a lot of scams. There was a lot of misleading and downright untrue stories that were being framed as true, and it was causing people to believe nonsense. So I don't know about you, but child pornography should be banned and should not be posted on your feed. People that are pretending to be CNN should not be able to spread misinformation and lies and present it as if they are CNN. Scammers should not be able to tell you that ivermectin cures COVID and then sell you a prescription. The reason why there was a move to regulate some of these areas is because of the explicit harms they were causing to human beings.
Then Facebook, Twitter, now X, Google, Microsoft, etc. I always had an interest in free speech.
So you want to have to sign up everywhere with your ID. I don't agree with that because of who is in power in America. If the Communist Party of America was in charge, I would agree with that. I don't agree with it now because I want to create a space for an insurgency against the government. But if the government was a different government, then I would be in favor of putting the IDs up. I'm just being completely honest. I don't want it now because I don't support the fascist government that we have, and I want to have insurgency, places where insurgents can collect. I want to help spaces for dissidents in America.
When I was a lawyer in England, I've been a lawyer in England since 2011. And so over there, I was very interested in the topic. And then I moved back to America and I saw that the censorship that was very much a rising tide in the UK was also a rising tide in the United States. So I started representing smaller companies that had problems with the US government and also with deplatforming around 2018. And I've been tracking that issue for since before then. One company in particular, Gab.com, which was sort of the bête noire of the American online safety and trust and safety community, they started getting inbound from the German government.
So Gab basically started as a Reddit clone where they could do jailbait. I'm pretty sure that's when Gab started, right? Didn't Gab start when the r/jailbait was banned, which was pictures of underage girls stolen from their like social media? Or is Gab a Twitter clone? What one was the Reddit clone? There was a Reddit clone and there was a Twitter clone. Bot. Okay, vote. Okay, yeah, that's the one. You're right. Yeah. Gab was started so they could do Nazi shit. Gab is an alt-tech microblogging and social networking service widely described as a haven for far-right and alt-right users. Gab attracted users and groups who have been banned from other social media platforms and users seeking alternatives to mainstream social media platforms. Founded in 2016 and launched publicly in May 2017, Gab claims to promote free speech, individual liberty, the free flow of information online, and Christian values. In other words, they would ban you for, if you were like left-wing, they would ban you. Researchers note that Gab has been linked to radicalization leading to real-world violent events. The site received extensive public scrutiny following the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting in October 2018. The perpetrator of the attack, Robert Gregory Bowers, had a history of making extreme anti-Semitic postings on the platform, as well as messages indicating an immediate intent to cause harm before the shooting. Gab was among the platforms used to plan the United States Capitol attack on January 6th. Corbo announced that Gab would sponsor the America First Political Action Conference run by white nationalist commentator Nick Fuentes. Wait a minute, chat. I thought they wanted free speech and liberty. Nick Fuentes wants to censor the left and like, wait a minute.
Specifically the German Ministry for Justice, the BFJ. And the BFJ was trying to enforce a law which was kind of a predecessor to the EU Digital Services Act called the Network Enforcement Act, or the NetzDG. And so they usually only targeted big companies. So they went after Google, Facebook, whatever else. And at the time, Gab had almost no users. It had something like 500,000 registered users, maybe 15,000 MAUs. And they got a letter from the BFJ saying, oh, you need to come over here. You need to set up a registered office and you need to start following German censorship law. And if you don't do that, we're going to fine you 30,000 euros because we have global jurisdiction over the internet. And Gab told them to go to hell, to be blunt. And the Biden administration was actually assisting the German government in serving those notices. Initially, actually under Trump 1, that was happening just as a matter of course. Then under the Biden administration, I got involved and we started pushing back on those notices a little bit, asking the DOJ, to not serve them because it was violating my client's constitutional rights. And then when Trump 2 came around, we called up the House of Representatives and a couple of people in the DOJ. We let them know this was happening, and lo and behold, the notices from Germany stopped getting served. So this is something which has really only been a problem for a handful of the most controversial American companies. And what happened was you saw it being prototyped with the NetzDG. The NetzDG was not a very successful global regulatory regime for the internet. It was not widely adopted. It's since been largely superseded by the EU Digital Services Act. But that was their experimentation lab where they tried some of these things out. And so we knew from that process, and in fact, we can talk about that in a second, but I now represent all of the American targets of the UK Online Safety Act. And we told them, we said, listen, thanks for sending your enforcement notices. I know you're new to this, but this isn't our first rodeo. We've seen this movie before, and last time the Germans tried to do this, we just kind of dismissed them, and they never got into the United States, and neither will you.
You mentioned 2018 is when this first started. I feel like this is when you started to see a lot of moral panic, especially in the media over speech, where when you started out, it was like you would report on these platforms, and then you started to get all this, like, I don't know, I don't want to say pressure, but I feel like the media sentiment changed. You saw the beginning of the tech lash.
I like Taylor because Taylor is like one of those people where you're like, the pen is mightier than the sword. And Taylor is like, that's a moral panic.
There was just a huge amount of public desire for articles about sort of like, look at this bad stuff. There's the misinformation crisis. Like, we need to censor the internet and sort of, I guess, curtail speech online because otherwise we'll get Russian disinformation or something on Facebook. But I feel like a lot of it didn't pick up in the EU until like more recent years. The Online Safety Act, I guess, passed in 2023, but went into effect in 2024. Can you talk about like when the Online Safety Act went into effect in the UK recently, kind of how that affected speech on these American social platforms?
Sure. So the Online Safety Act started out as the Online Harms Bill in 2019. And then I think they ran some linguistic analysis on the name and decided they didn't want to call it Online Harms. So they called it Online Safety because that was better packaging for it. The Online Safety Act really requires companies to do three essential things. One of them is it requires them to produce risk assessments of content, on their site and assess their compliance with the substantive provisions of the Act, and then report to the regulator on what, how they've complied, what the chief risks are, and how they plan on ameliorating those risks. That includes all kinds of subsidiary requirements requirements, like if they make a substantial change to the design of the application, they need to report that to the regulator and do a risk assessment on the change. The second thing is that it requires proactive removal of so-called priority illegal content, which includes things like CSAM and other stuff that is also illegal in the United States, but also includes things that are perfectly legal in the United States, particularly under their terrorism statutes. And the third thing it does, it then says, okay, well, in addition to that, you have to, on a notice and takedown basis, remove any content which is illegal, right? Violates any real-world law, which is not the case in the United States, covers a great deal of constitutionally protected content, and also infringes on these companies' rights as distributors of third-party content to not be held liable for that content, which is both a First Amendment principle, right, under Smith v. California, but it's also a statutory principle under Section 230 of the Communications Decency.
You don't have to time out fry my brains. It's okay. Just don't at people. Just make your arguments. Just make your argument. I don't have, by the way, I'm watching this because I don't know what the right answer is. I go back and forth. I go back and forth on this. You know, like maybe I disagree with Taylor, maybe I don't. I personally do not believe that you have to hand it to right wingers ever. You know what I mean? Like I don't believe it is a good decision to do it ever. That being said, there's always exceptions. I think as a general principle, I don't ever do it, but maybe this is an exception. There's an example of where I did hand it to it. I handed it to Marjorie Taylor Greene when she tried to pass that amendment denying all military aid to Israel. I gave her credit for that. I agreed with that. So maybe this is a case where I'll agree with these guys. I don't know. I gotta say, I haven't heard anything quite yet.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That user was losing his mind and tagging you and accusing you of nonsense. I stand with Solio. Oh, I know. It happened. I could take it.
Regulator power to intrude and actually demand that these things get taken down. But what happens is if you are in violation enough, what it does is the regulator says you violated some amorphous duty that we have imposed on you through our regulations and codes of practice that are promulgated under the Act. And as a consequence of that, you have to pay hefty fines and penalties, or if you just don't respond to us, as my clients haven't, you know, we could throw you in prison over it because you failed to respond to our regulatory inquiries. So what we've seen is that companies have overcorrected, right, in the sense that they know, in order to avoid this fine, what they've done is they've cut off access to all kinds of lawful speech for adults. And so Substack, for example, has put up age verification technology on, I mean, Substack. I've never read anything offensive on Substack in my entire life. And they have to put up age gating, right, on content that might be offensive to someone who's under the age of 18 because it deals with touchy political subject matter. And so that infringes on the First Amendment in two ways. One of them, it infringes on the British people's God-given right to free speech, right? But the UK has the right to do what it wants within its own borders. But it infringes on American speech because it requires Americans to account for their editorial decisions to the UK. And in addition to that, it requires them to put in place barriers that prevent them and other Americans from talking to the UK. And the UK is free to do what it wants within its own borders. They can put a censorship box, you know, on the pipes leading into the country and on the tubes, right? And they can say, listen, we're going to block URLs that we find objectionable or block domains that we find objectionable. But what they don't have a right to do is to come over to the United States and tell an American what server configurations they need to set on their servers. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Okay, so by the way, I disagree with this guy completely. I don't know what else to say. I'm surprised that Taylor is agreeing with this, but the internet is a global thing. If you want to have your internet and business with a country, they have sovereignty. They're allowed to pass laws about what goes on in the, within their own borders. That's just the concept of sovereignty. If you want to do business with a country, they're allowed to set requirements to do business with them in their country. Now, if you don't want to do business with that country, then you don't have to follow their rules. But if you have their citizens in their country, you have to follow the rules. That's just how it works. Now, I would like to see, personally, I don't think servers should be in America. I don't like America having jurisdiction over the internet. I think that's a bad thing. I would like to see the administration of the internet take it away from the United States.
Doing. So essentially, if you talk to someone in the UK about it, they say, well, they're operating in the UK if their website is accessible here. And that's just not congruent with what traditionally has been understood as operating in a place, right, actually means, which usually means premises, equipment, people, that kind of stuff. What the UK is saying, if your website is visible in the UK, right, which every website is, as long as you've got an internet connection, then you have to follow their content moderation rules. And essentially that means that their expectation as they've put in lots and lots of different correspondence that they've sent, and is stated in the law itself, is that these rules have extraterritorial effect and it governs the conduct of American citizens on American soil.
So can you explain the difference between that and all these other countries that are also very censorious? Like, you'll see a lot of people I saw on Twitter of them being like, well, what about like Iran? Or
the whole point of the internet is to transcend borders and make it a global community. Borders are the thing that is stupid, not the internet. Except it doesn't transcend borders, which is the point that you don't understand. It is allowing the United States to regulate the internet, thereby imperializing the rest of the world, thereby preventing self-determination, preventing communities from protecting themselves. Just because the United States is allowing scam artists and pedophiles to reign unregulated doesn't mean that other countries have to allow that. They could regulate. If Americans want to spread misinformation about vaccines, other countries don't have to tolerate that shit.
Or Russia or some of these other countries, I guess, that have very authoritarian control over speech. Why is the Online Safety Act in the UK such a problem, but the sort of authoritarian laws in those other countries?
By the way, authoritarian is heavily editorializing language, and like some things, like I think it obfuscates what's going on rather than clarifies. And it's highly prejudicial in the conversation. I think some speech should be banned. And so do you. I want you to understand. So do you. No, I don't. Chat, this guy wants child porn. This guy wants child porn he wants to access child porn. He wants child porn to be widely accessible and available. Is that wrong, Blowfish? Or do you support child pornography being available? Wait, yes, you did. LMAO, I didn't. Yes, you did. You said you don't want any speech to be regulated. Child pornography is speech. Child pornography is a video. So you want to regulate speech. Okay, we're on the same page. This guy doesn't. This guy is part of the internet where child pornographers and pedophiles congregate. That's what he represents. That's what he says when he says anarchic. He means no state, no government. What does he want? No state or government, so that child pornographers can spread their material. He wants videos. He wants snuff films. He wants pet torture videos. Child porn is illegal. That's an authoritarian suppression of speech, and that's good. The Constitution doesn't say free speech except child porn. It says free speech. Now, we have interpreted that to mean, yeah, you can't do child porn, but that's not in the Constitution. That's something we made up because we all agree that speech should not be completely unregulated. I can't say for example, you cannot say that you're going to kill the president. You cannot threaten to someone and say, I'm going to kill you. You're not allowed to say that. That's a violation of the law, but that's speech. I'm not allowed to say that you have an STD. I'm not allowed to say that you committed crimes if you didn't. Not a mortar launcher. So this is why I disagree. I think that some speech should not be allowed. I don't think people should be able to make an AI video of me saying that measles vaccines don't work and then spread that around the internet, saying Mike says that measles vaccines don't work. I think that should be illegal. I think that if you do that, you should be, I should be able to sue you. I should be able to know who you are. I should be able to take that video down. I don't agree that speech should be unregulated. That's insane. Did you see that an unvaxxed kid with measles went to the ARC in Kentucky? Yes, measles vaccine, the measles rate is
I mean, they are.
Basically, what's happened to the Trump administration is measles is now raging uncontrolled. Here you go. U.S. measles cases reach highest level in over 30 years. That means a lot of dead kids and a lot of kids with permanent disabilities. The number of recorded measles cases in the U.S. during 2025 has exceeded 2,000 for the first time in more than 30 years. This year's surge in cases and prolonged outbreaks could cause the U.S. to lose its globally recognized measles elimination status for the first time in decades by the end of January 2026. The outbreaks come amid Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s efforts to downplay the risk of measles and spreading misleading claims about the vaccine while suggesting other alternatives without evidence. 93% of those infected were unvaccinated or have unknown vaccination status. Texas reported the most number of cases this year, followed by Arizona and South Carolina. Wow, I can't believe red states are having measles outbreaks. All right, chat, let's pull away from this video. I mean, I'm not saying that she's wrong here. I'm just saying if this is the premise we're going with, I don't agree. All right, chat, we've got another socialist.
To be here. There, can you guys hear me? Okay, yeah. That's okay. Katie, please hold up your right hand and repeat after me. I, Katie Wilson, swear.
I, Katie Wilson, swear.
That I possess all of the qualifications prescribed in the Seattle City Charter.
That I possess all of the qualifications prescribed in the Seattle City Charter.
And the Seattle Municipal Code for the position of Mayor of the City of Seattle.
For the position of Mayor of the City of Seattle.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of Washington.
The State of Washington.
And the Charter and ordinances of the City of Seattle.
And the Charter and ordinances of the City of Seattle.
And that I will faithfully conduct myself as Mayor of the City of Seattle.
And that I will faithfully conduct myself as the Mayor of the City of Seattle.
Oh, we will.
Hey, your new mayor, Katie Wilson. Katie, woo!
Is she on par with Zohran? No one is. Like, come on. It's okay. She's still a homegrown socialist candidate, so we're going to celebrate her. And also, chat, the reality is that Zohran is who he is because he's so good producing a show. But it's not just, but he's not like Obama where that's where it ends. He's also a policy wonk. It's so rare to have somebody who's a policy wonk and is really good on putting on a show.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, just a little bit higher, I guess. Yeah.
This is also cute because I don't mind this kind of stuff, but it is good to see. It's like the difference between the most highly polished swearing in with Zohran, and then we have this very grassroots leftist audio swearing in.
Hi, everyone. I know you've all been standing for a long time, just a little longer. So my team asked me if I wanted some help with my, and I said, you know, I understand that when I'm the mayor, I'm going to have some help writing, but I feel like maybe this is my last time where I get to just say whatever I want. So y'all are getting an unvetted, I can feel some waves of anxiety. It's going to be okay. It is such a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you today. I look out and I see so many people who have played a role in getting us to this place of promise and hope. I see friends and colleagues and family. I see people I've known for years and others I just met this year and many others who I don't yet know. I see people whose names are known and celebrated and others whose work is quiet and behind the scenes, but no less important. I see fellow organizers. I see union members. I see tech workers and baristas. I see city employees. I see elected officials. And I know there's at least one former mayor here. I see young people and elders. I see people whose families have lived here for generations, and others who maybe just arrived to make Seattle your home. And to all of you, and to everyone watching from afar, and to all of the people who could not be here today because they are doing the hard, unsung work that makes Seattle run, I say, this is your city. This is your city. This is your city, and as your mayor, I will work every single day to make that not just a phrase, but a living reality. This is your city. That means that you belong here. You have a right to be here and to live a dignified life, whatever your background and whatever your income. But it also means that all of us have a shared responsibility for this place and for each other, because Seattle is what we make of it together. It's hard for me to believe that it's been less than 2 months since the election. And in that short space of time, a lot has happened. For one thing, I'm getting really, really good at hiring people. But seriously, I am very excited, the team that will be joining me in the mayor. I remember a conversation that I had with my husband sometime shortly after the primary, when it began to look like I might actually become the mayor. And we were talking about what qualities are important in hiring staff, a subject that we obviously knew a lot about. In the end, we concluded that the most important thing is character. Someone might share my vision and my worldview. They might be competent and experienced and effective. But if they're not in this work for the right reason, if they don't have enough self-awareness to reflect on their own motivations and rise above themselves when needed, then that's not a person that I should put in a position of power. I believe that it is so important that the people working alongside me in the mayor's office every day are good people with good judgment who have the best interest of our city at heart. And I am filled with confidence and hope for the future, in part because I know that that is going to be. We're still building this team, but many of them are already on board and are sprinkled among you here today, and I hope you get to meet. What else has happened since election night? Well, late last month, I had the honor of being noticed by the President of the United States, who called me a very, very liberal/communist mayor. It's nice to feel seen. That's all I'm going to say about that. And earlier this month, we launched our transition team. So this team is composed of about 60 volunteers, community leaders, and experts in their fields who are helping to turn many of the issues that I campaigned around into actionable plans and recommendations for my administration. Many of these people are also here today, some of them behind me. And I want to say a few words about their work because I am very proud of what they're doing. So sometimes mayoral transition teams can be a little bit performative. You select a bunch of people with names that other people recognize. You put them in a big room. Everyone says their piece. They feel important. You feel important. And then everyone goes home. I really hate that kind of thing. I don't like wasting people's time. So as a community organizer, I decided to do things a little different. For our transition team, we chose people who are willing to roll up their sleeves, put in real time and labor, and expand the tent. So these 60 people have been hard at work, reaching out to a much wider circle of advisors across the city, building relationships and gathering insights. And so far, in just the few weeks since we launched, they've collectively talked with over 700 more people. This process will continue through January, and I am so grateful for the work of this team and excited to see the recommendations that they assemble. They're digging into all the subjects you might expect: housing and homelessness and transportation and climate action and workers' rights and public safety and so on and on. But when my transition director first shared with me a proposal for the work groups that we would be assembling, there was one that stuck out to me. It was called Civic Narrative and Major Initiatives. And I was like, what does that even mean? Civic narrative. So that's the story that we tell about our city, our collective identity, who we are and where we're going. Major initiatives. They're what happens when the government teams up with the people and the institutions that have access to vast amounts of capital to put on big events or undertake big infrastructure projects that change the face of our city. Now, to be honest, this kind of civic city-making and the civic boosterism that supports it, surrounds it, has never been my jam. I'm kind of a rabble-rouser. I campaigned on affordability, on homelessness, on taxing the rich. I've spent my career organizing with the people who often get left out of those official narratives. But now I'm the mayor. And it's my job to channel excitement for major projects. And not just that, I have to genuinely care about them enough to exercise good judgment and make the best decisions possible for our city. And so I had a little bit of a crisis of, can I do that? Can I be the mayor of the waterfront and the World Cup and the stadiums and the Seattle Center and the Convention Center and any other centers we might decide to build? Well, I have some good news for our city. Yes, I can. I'll do it in my own way, but I can do that. But that also got me thinking about this idea of civic narrative and Seattle's identity. Because the thing about
she needed 60 people just to find staff for a mayor's office for a mid-sized U.S. city. Shows you the scale. Many people don't understand that's at play here. Probably why I'm the most in favor of this is a lot of jobs for socialists that are currently being held by dogmatic neoliberals. Like, are you stupid? That's the thing that's also insane. Like, if you get involved with public policy on a socialist campaign and you win, you take the public policy job in office that's currently being held by a dogmatic neoliberal Nepo baby. Instead, it would be held by a socialist policy expert. And then you get to go around and fix problems in your city. You get to fix the pothole because your city has millions of dollars sitting there to fix roads. You get to go around and make sure it's actually spent on fixing the road. And you get paid to do it. The Nepo baby made sure the city contract went to somebody who bribed his dad. Like, this is the reality. Like, I don't, like, when you look around and you see your city fucked up, it's because the government is corrupt. It's not because they're poor. It's that the money's being stolen.
About cities is that there's never just one story to be told about them. Seattle is, we all know, a city of innovation. We're a city of software and same-day delivery and cancer immunotherapy and so much more. The kinds of advances that are powered by our tech and aerospace and biomedical industry, by our major research institutes, by the brilliance of our entrepreneurs and our tech workers and our engineers and our researchers. And that's all a core part of Seattle's identity. But just as there is city making and innovation from above, there is also city making and innovation from below. There are kinds of innovation that no one pays you for, but they're no less important. Because Seattle is also a city that has been home. We're a city of music and literature and the arts. And yes, of course, you can make money in those fields. And some people make a lot of money. But usually before you make any money, there's a long period of not making any money, of pursuing your calling just because you're in love with it, because you see or hear or feel something that no one else does, and the act of creation gives your life meaning. No one gives you venture capital to become a musician or a sculptor, or to start a small brick and mortar business, to bring something new to vacant space and enliven a neighborhood. And I can tell you from personal experience that no one pays you to start a transit riders union. No one pays you to try to change the way power flows through the city, to change who has a voice in shaping our city's future and its politics. And these kinds of innovation from below are something that I am afraid we are at risk of losing because it is so hard to afford to live in this. So when we fight for affordable housing and childcare, it is not just about solving the math problem of how to make your household's revenue exceed its expenses. And when we talk about shaping our transportation system and our neighborhoods, it's not just about making people's commutes safer or shorter or less polluting. It's about opening up the time and the space where life happens, where people can breathe and experience and create, where we can be full human beings and not just means to an end. I want to live in a city that honors what you're doing when you're not making money. I'm not talking about watching Netflix. I mean the time that you spend with your kid at the playground or caring for a sick friend. I want to live in a city that celebrates the labor that people perform voluntarily, like someone, the transit fairy, who spends all day cleaning up bus stops, even though no one is paying her to do it. A city that values the pursuits that create beauty and community, whether or not they ever turn into. A city that thinks that you should have time to read a book and lay on the grass staring up at the clouds. Because we need bread, but we need roses too. We all deserve roses. And we can honor this work and leisure too, not just by praising it or saying that we value it, but by fighting to make possible a way of life where you do not have to spend every waking moment figuring out how to pay your bills. Where you don't have to work multiple jobs, where you can raise a family in an apartment because the city is your living room and the parks are your back and the grocery store is a short walk away. And I believe that we can have all of this, but it will require yet another kind of innovation at City Hall. We are in a moment that calls for vision and ambition. And also, I know that the necessary foundation for ambition is trust. And there is no more important part of my job as mayor than to build up deserved trust, your trust in local government. And that means listening and responding, solving problems and getting results. That means making true, tangible progress on problems like homelessness, where progress has eluded our city for so many years. I believe that we can do all of this, and we can also do big new things. And we have to do big new things. And I'm going to be calling on all the brilliance and the creativity and the dedication of our public sector workers, our city employees, as we push the boundaries of what we can accomplish together. But most of all, success is going to require all of you. Is anyone here at Seattle City Hall for the very first time this? That's a lot of hands. Welcome. This is your building. This is your building, and I'm going to need you to come back here again and again and again. Because the progress that we need to make is not just handed down from City Hall. That's not how power works. That's not how power has ever worked. We would not have an 8-hour day or a minimum wage or Social Security without workers organizing and fighting for those things. We would not have the rights that we have for women, for Black and brown people, for the LGBTQ+ community, without mass social movements fighting for dignity and equality. These things have never been given to us without people organizing and demanding change. And the same is true here in Seattle. We wouldn't have some of the strongest tenant protections in the country without renters organizing. And we wouldn't have free transit for youth if students at Rainier Beach High School hadn't stood up and made that their fight. We wouldn't have Jumpstart Seattle without a multi-year grassroots campaign for progressive revenue. And we would not have the highest minimum wage in the country in Tukwila and other cities around King County without people pounding the pavement and knocking on doors and getting out the vote. With all of you is where this power lies. And that is why I intend to govern in a way that for organizers and ordinary people to do the work of pushing our city and our society forward toward realizing our highest and best aspirations. Because I know that what I am able to accomplish in office will depend on what you are able to build on the outside. This is your city, and I am so, so proud to be your mayor. That's all I wanted to say. Let's do this together.
I think one of the things that always makes me excited about where our movement's going is the fact that people are finally recognizing that we can't just have politics which is about shaming people, but that is actually aspirational, that also demands that leisure be part of your life, that your job is only a sliver of your life, that you have the right to relaxation, you have the right to enjoy time with your family and pursue hobbies. It's not just reserved for people that make a lot of money. And if you're a person who thinks people don't deserve to have leisure because they're poor, you're a scum. So congratulations to Katie and the Seattle people out west. It's unbelievable.
Line between stupid and clever. I think that the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Final Tag!
The numbers all go to 11.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Stonehenge!
About that, chat. I'm muted still. I thought that wasn't gonna take as long as it did. Sorry about that. Here's all my links. We watch the movie on Discord at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We get together on the Discord. Here's the link. You can join the Discord to get community updates, community activities, a place to hang out and discuss shit with other leftists. It's pretty nice. All right, what else did I want to talk about today? The Adin Ross getting sued. Adin Ross and Drake are getting sued for RICO. Drake, Adin Ross, and Stake are being sued for deceptive online gambling practices. The suit alleges the feds funneled stake funds into artificial streaming and social media amplification. So in other words, Adin Ross and Drake were buying bots to boost themselves online, according to this lawsuit. A new federal class action lawsuit filed in Virginia accused Drake, streamer Adin Ross, and an Australian man identified in the complaints as George Nguyen of working with the casino platform Stake.us to prey upon consumers and use proceeds to artificially inflate streaming counts for Drake's catalog. Filed by Lashana Ridley and Tiffany Hines, the suit said the defendants acted as paid promoters of Stake and used the platform's user-to-user tipping feature as an unregulated conduit to move money among themselves. The complaint alleges these transfers were then funneled into schemes, including bots and streaming farms, to boost play counts and run coordinated amplification campaigns. In other words, Adin Ross and Drake are botters. I actually think Hassan may be the second largest or third largest actual streamer in the world. I think because Hassan and all the Hassan people, we do not bot. We have the largest authentic audiences. That's crazy. The plaintiffs seek to represent Virginia users who lost wagers on Stake within the last 3 years and bring claims under the Virginia Consumer Protection Act, as well as the federal racketeering statutes, arguing the alleged conduct damaged consumers and undermined the integrity of streaming metrics. Virginia filing follows a related litigation that surfaced last fall. A Missouri plaintiff filed a similar proposed class action in October that accused Drake, Ross, and Stake of disempting gambling practices, and that the case has since been moved to federal court. The new complaint said the alleged scheme traces back to 2022 and remains ongoing. The filing claims public posts, chat logs, and leaked communications document Nguyen's direct handling of funds through multiple payment platforms, orchestration of narrative surges, and amplification alongside Drake and Ross. A Stake representative and other named defendants had not provided comment, and a representative for Drake declined to comment to reporters. The litigation is ongoing, and plaintiffs are asking a court to certify a class and pursue damages as the case proceeds. All right. Well, chat, I'm going to call it there. I'm going to call it there, chat. And I'm going to send you to the ultimate queen. It's been a long week. Here's all my links. I'm sending you to Caseytron, one of the originals, OGs. The new year is looking great so far. Thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals, for all your support. Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever, my friends. And of course, I don't know what else to say other than this is an amazing new year. And things are going to continue to flow in our direction. It has only just begun. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Say hi to Casey for me. And have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you tonight to see This Is Spinal Tap. All right, everybody. See you soon.